Chapter 2269. Lingshan's crime-solving skills surprised her new colleagues. They had no clue at all about this kidnapping case, but Lingshan had gone out and not only did she rescue the hostages, she'd even caught the kidnappers. The kidnappers looked a little pitiful, but he deserved what he got. What depressed them was that the kidnappers' eyes were lifeless, and he didn't say anything. It was as if he didn't understand her at all. Lingshan had thought that he'd been beaten senseless by Old Pai, but after the doctor's examination, that wasn't the case. An unknown drug had been injected into the kidnapper's body, and the kidnapper's brain had been destroyed as well. To put it bluntly, this person was an idiot. If it weren't for the fact that he'd woken up with a cast on his arms and legs, and had broken the metal bed with one punch, everyone would have suspected that he was the kidnapper. But this person's strength and destructive power made people believe in how scary he was. This familiar situation reminded Lingshan of a case in Songshon, the bank robbery case with the fake Lin Yi. Back then, the fake Lin Yi was like this as well. Lingshan didn't dare tarry, and quickly reported it to Huaijuan. Donghai's situation came to an end for now. In the middle of the Wulong Haut Mountains, Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and Skybolt Pig were caught in a huge net that fell from the sky. Not only did the net tighten rapidly, not giving Lin Yi any chance to escape, but they were also hung up in the air. And so Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and Skybolt Pig were all suspended in the air. Lin Yi subconsciously wanted to use his hands to tear the net apart, but it was extremely sturdy, and Lin Yi couldn't break it with his bare hands at all. In the next moment, Lin Yi saw who they were, but these couldn't be considered people. They were giant spiders. Speaking of spiders, many people would associate it with a more terrifying appearance. However, these spiders didn't look scary. Instead, they were somewhat cute. They were like the chibi version of spiders in comics. The color patterns on their bodies were also very beautiful. It was similar to the Skybolt Pig. Although the Skybolt Pig was a pig, it didn't look as stupid as a pig. Instead, it looked very cute. Needless to say, Lin Yi knew that these spiders were probably some kind of ancient spiritual beasts. Maybe they were ancient spiders. In a place like the Wulong Haut mountain range with abundant spiritual energy, it was normal for there to be more ancient spiritual beasts. If it was an ordinary mountain range, there probably wouldn't be a single ancient spiritual beast. You guys are ancient spiritual beasts, right? Why did you capture us? After Lin Yi roughly confirmed the identity of these spiders, he didn't show any hostility. Instead, he used a very friendly tone to talk to them. This was because Lin Yi knew that they should be able to understand his words. As expected, after the spiders heard Lin Yi's words, they looked at each other, but none of them answered Lin Yi's words. Perhaps it was because they were too weak to speak the human language, or perhaps they could speak but didn't want to say it. However, the first possibility was more likely. Because Lin Yi took a look, he realized that there were two mystic spiders, and the rest were golden spiders. They shouldn't be able to speak the human language. These spiders ignored Lin. Instead, they dragged Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and the Skybolt Pig's big net and quickly moved towards a direction. Lin Yi looked at the Skybolt Pig and signaled it to communicate with these spiders. Squeak, squeak. The Skybolt Pig repeated what Lin Yi said before in the spiritual beast language. At first, these spiders didn't pay attention to the Skybolt Pig. However, when they suddenly heard the Skybolt Pig speaking the spiritual beast language, one of the spiders looked at the Skybolt Pig in the big net in surprise. However, it didn't reply and continued to move forward with the big net. Seeing that no spiders replied to it, the Skybolt Pig felt a little helpless. He looked at Lin Yi and shook his head. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. It seemed that these spiders were most likely the big fire lion's enemies. But why did these spiders want to capture him? Could it be that they knew that he was friends with the big fire lions? Or was it because he accidentally trespassed into their territory? If it was the latter, then it should be easier to resolve. These spiders were probably trying to capture them back to their nest. As Lin Yi expected, these spiders brought Lin Yi and the others to a naturally formed cave. There were many spider spiritual beasts patrolling the vicinity of the cave. Lin Yi took a look and saw that they were around the yellow rank. There were also some mystic rank, but only a few of them. However, there was a big spider inside the cave that attracted Lin Yi's attention. A heaven-rank spiritual beast was similar to the big fire lion. Sure enough, if they weren't of the same rank, how could they be opponents? Since it was a heaven-rank spiritual beast, it should be able to speak the human language just like the big fire lion. Therefore, Lin Yi didn't need the Skybolt pig to translate for him. The big net was opened, and Lin Yi and the others were placed on the ground. Lin Yi then climbed out of the big net. He looked a little embarrassed, but facing a heaven-rank spiritual beast clan, there was nothing to be ashamed of. You are the leader of these spiritual beasts, right? I know you can understand me and communicate with me. Lin Yi didn't panic. He calmly stood up and looked at the biggest heaven-rank spider. What is your purpose for coming to my territory? A human cultivator. The heaven-rank spider didn't answer Lin Yi's question. Instead, it directly asked a question. But this also indirectly answered Lin Yi's question, which was that it could speak the human language. Entered by mistake. Even if I said so, you wouldn't believe me. Lin Yi saw the ridicule in the heaven-rank spider's eyes and immediately changed his tone. He simply told the truth. I was avoiding the pursuit of my enemies and had no choice but to take this path down the mountain. I can't take the normal path anymore. How can I believe you? The heaven-rank spider asked after hearing Lin Yi's words. With our strength, would you believe me if I said that we came to look for trouble? Lin Yi smiled bitterly and shrugged his shoulders. Normally I wouldn't believe you, but now is a special time. I can't help but doubt your purpose for coming here. The heaven-rank spider said, moreover, I smell a familiar aura from your body. What is your relationship with the Fire Lion clan? Chapter 2270. However, on the surface, Lin Yi still maintained his composure and said, my previous identity was that of an adventurer. I went up the mountain with the Tagan family to capture the small fire lions, but there were some problems, and the capture of the small fire lions was only a pretense. I had other purposes for going up the mountain, so I had a conflict with the Tagan family. Lin Yi was purely asking and not answering, but it also showed that he had fought with the Fire Lion clan, so it was normal for him to have the aura of the fire lions on his body. You captured the small fire lions? Then why would they give you their most important flowing fire god bullets? The heaven-rank spider looked at Lin Yi with ridicule. Human cultivator, you are very dishonest. Since that's the case, I can only lock you up first. Flowing fire god bullets. Lin Yi didn't expect that the heaven-rank spider would actually discover that he had the flowing fire god bullets on him. This made him very shocked. Wasn't this heaven-rank spider a bit too powerful? That's a weapon used by the Fire Lion clan to fight against us. It can break our inescapable net. How could I not be familiar with that kind of thing when you carry it on you? The heaven-rank spider's voice was somewhat cold. Tell the truth or be locked up. You can choose for yourself. However, after being locked up by us, you might not think of you for 8 to 10 years. Whether you can persevere for that long will depend on your luck. Alright, since that's the case, I'll be straightforward. Lin Yi sighed. He originally guessed that the Spider Spirit Beast clan was definitely the Fire Lion clan's enemy, so he didn't intend to reveal his relationship with the Fire Lion clan to avoid unnecessary trouble. But now, it seemed that the heaven-rank spider wasn't that easy to deceive. He had no choice but to tell the truth. Lin Yi could only tell the truth. The reason why I didn't say it before was because I had indeed intruded into your territory by mistake. I didn't want to disturb you, I just wanted to borrow the way down the mountain. If my guess is correct, you are the Fire Lion clan's enemy in the Wulong Haut mountain range, right? Not bad. The heaven-rank spider straightforwardly admitted. I'm indeed related to the Fire Lion clan, but it's like this. After saying that, Lin Yi told the heaven-rank spider about the purpose of his trip, how he joined the Tagan family's adventurer guild to participate in the mission, how he became enemies with the Tagan dragon, how he secretly helped the small Fire Lion clan, how he became friends with the Fire Lion clan, how he went up the mountain to obtain a treasure, how he was attacked by the Tagan family's experts, and how he was saved by the heaven-rank strange man. Naturally, Lin Yi didn't mention that he was healing the small lion and increasing its strength. Lin Yi couldn't say for the time being, especially since the heaven-rank spider and the Flame Lion clan were enemies. If Lin Yi mentioned it, the heaven-rank spider might do something out of anger. That heaven-rank old man is your master? The heaven-rank spider asked in a strange tone. You are also related to that sect on the mountain? Master, it could be considered a mistake, but we are indeed related to that sect, Linny said. You don't seem to be lying, but I can't let you go now. The heaven-rank spider said, although I have some friendship with your master, my son is missing. I suspect that this matter was done by the Fire Lion clan, so I want to use you as a bargaining chip to exchange for my son's safety with the Fire Lion clan. Your son? Captured by the Fire Lion clan? When did this happen? Lin Yi suddenly froze. About 10 days ago. The heaven-rank spider didn't hide it. Then it definitely couldn't have been done by them. Lin Yi said, it hasn't even been 10 days since I left the Fire Lion clan's lair. I haven't seen your son, perhaps he is imprisoned in a certain place. The heaven-rank spider hesitated for a bit before saying, that shouldn't be the case. I don't think so. Why don't you tell me about your son? There might be some clues. Lin said, that's fine. The heaven-rank spider wasn't afraid of Lin Yi stirring up trouble in its territory. It's like this. 10 days ago, my son went to the other side of the Wulong Haut mountain range to gather a natural treasure. That place isn't our territory or the Fire Lion clan's, it's only a public area. That place produces some natural treasures every year, but the natural treasure my son gathered is only useful to our spider clan. But the Fire Lion clan also knows when it matures, and my son still hasn't returned. Moreover, the subordinates I sent to look for him haven't found any clues, so I can't help but suspect that the Fire Lion clan did this to him. Oh? Lin Yi frowned. If what the heaven-rank spider said was true, then the suspect might really be the Fire Lion clan. But Lin Yi felt that it should be the Fire Lion clan, or else Lin Yi wouldn't have known about it. GG. Just as Lin Yi was pondering with a frown, wondering how to make the spiders let them off, the lightning pig suddenly shouted. Lightning pig! Lin Yi lowered his head to look at the lightning pig, but the lightning pig's words were clearly not directed at Lin Yi, but rather at the heaven-rank spider. Oh, little thing, why are you asking if there are any more heavenly treasures? The heaven-rank spider doubtfully looked at the lightning pig. Hearing the heaven-rank spider's explanation, Lin Yi slightly froze, but he instantly thought of something and said, the lightning pig is also an ancient spirit beast, but its ability is to search for treasures. I wonder if you have heard of this kind of spirit beast? Search for treasures? This kind of spirit beast really exists? The heaven-ranked spider looked at the skybolt pig in shock, but when it saw the pig nodding its head proudly, it immediately understood what the skybolt pig meant. If you have the same kind of treasure, you can find my son in the same way? The lightning pig nodded, but it continued to explain with a GG sound. It meant that it could only find this kind of heavenly treasure, but if its son wasn't with the heavenly treasure, then it would be powerless. That's already very amazing. After saying that, the heaven-rank spider gave a few instructions to its subordinates, and they immediately left. Not long after, they returned with a small box, and the heaven-rank spider had its subordinates give the small box to the lightning pig. The lightning pig used its 2 front paws to open the box and carefully sniffed the contents before walking towards the exit of the cave. However, the spider's subordinates didn't stop it, they just let it walk out of the cave. Chapter 2271. GG. The skybolt pig called out twice in one direction, then stretched out his front paw and pointed in a direction. The heaven spider was a little surprised. It didn't tell Lin Yi and the others which direction the treasure was produced in, but the skybolt pig pointed out the general direction accurately. Therefore, at this moment, it was even more convinced that the skybolt pig was really capable. Let's go and take a look together. Thinking of this, the heaven spider's attitude towards Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi became a lot friendlier. It believed that they really wanted to help it. But Lin Yi nodded. He didn't think about escaping. After all, the so-called inescapable net of these spiders was a little scary. It was very difficult to escape from that big net. The heaven spider personally took a few more mystic rank spiders with Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. They quickly followed the skybolt pig towards the direction it pointed. Looking at the number of spiders, Lin Yi found it hard to imagine that the Fire Lion clan could actually be evenly matched with the Spider clan in a situation where the number of their clansmen was unequal. Perhaps the Spider's attack power was relatively weak, while the Fire Lion clan's attack power was relatively strong. This was also the reason why the two clans couldn't do anything to each other. The key was that the treasure here was limited. People of the same trade were enemies. One mountain cannot accommodate two tigers, so small conflicts would definitely not end. This Firestream God Bomb might be the weapon to break the big net, but Lin Yi only had one left. He didn't think that he could escape from the siege of so many spiders. As the Skybolt Pig walked further and further away, the Heaven Spider became more and more surprised. Because the Skybolt Pig was walking towards the place where the treasure grew. But even though it was surprised, the Heaven Rank Spider became even more worried. Since the Heavenly Lightning Pig found the place where the treasure was produced, but didn't find the place where the treasure was, what was the reason? The treasure here had already been picked. Even the little spider, the son of the Heaven Spider, had disappeared. The Heaven Rank Spider had also sent its subordinates to search this path many times, but they couldn't find any traces of the small spider. I have already sent my subordinates to search many times on this road, but they didn't find any traces of my son. The Heaven Rank Spider said to the Lightning Pig. It was using human language so that Lin Yi could understand it. GG. The Skybolt Pig shook its head and responded to the Heaven Rank Spider, telling it not to be noisy and not to be impatient. A mystic late-phase peak spirit beast actually dared to do this to a Heaven-class spirit beast. Normally, the Heaven-class spider would have been furious, but now, it had no choice but to listen to the pig and wait for its next move. Skybolt Pig came to the place where the heavenly treasure was produced. It was a big tree, and the fruits on it had already been plucked. However, Skybolt Pig still stayed here for half a day, carefully smelling the scent of the place. Then, he suddenly turned around and walked in another direction. There was a steep cliff over there. The direction that Skybolt Pig went made the Heaven Rank Spider and Lin Yi very confused. Could it be that the small spider fell down the cliff? But obviously, this was impossible. The Heaven Rank Spider was the first to deny this idea. Their spider race knew how to make silk, so no matter how deep they fell, they could still make it back up. This was also why it didn't send anyone to check on the other side of the cliff. However, when Skybolt Pig came to the edge of the cliff, he pointed at the bottom of the cliff and kept making GG sounds. What? You mean to say that my son fell down the cliff? The Heaven Rank Spider asked in confusion. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded. Are you sure? The Heaven Rank Spider didn't really believe Skybolt Pig's words. But Skybolt Pig had found this place from the spider race's territory, so the Heaven Rank Spider couldn't help but believe that it had the ability to find treasures. GG. Skybolt Pig was a little impatient this time. Okay. The Heaven Rank Spider nodded and said to its subordinates, make a net, let's go down and take a look. These spiders didn't need to make a net to go down the cliff. They could just pull a thread and go down, but Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and Skybolt Pig couldn't. Although Lin Yi could go down by himself with his strength, there was a ready-made cable car, so why not? The Heaven Rank Spider went down first, while Lin Yi and the others sat on the big net made by the other spiders. But when they reached the bottom of the valley, they heard the Heaven Rank Spider scream. It was because it found a small spider in a pile of rubble. At this moment, the small spider was pressed down by a pile of rocks and couldn't move. When it saw the Heaven Rank Spider and the others coming to save it, it immediately cried out. This small spider didn't seem to have much strength and didn't have any attack power. But it made sense. The spiders mainly relied on making nets to trap enemies, but their strength wasn't that great. Especially the small spider, its strength was only at the early phase of the golden class, so it couldn't have much strength. No wonder it couldn't get out after being pressed down by a pile of rubble. Under the command of the Heaven Rank Spider, the other spiders quickly moved the rubble away, and the small spider was also saved. However, the small spider's legs were injured by the rubble, so it couldn't move at the moment. And the reason why the small spider fell down the cliff was now clear. It turned out that the small spider found a treasure on the edge of the cliff and wanted to take it back. But who would have thought that the rocks on the edge of the cliff would loosen, and the small spider's silk wouldn't be able to support it? Instead, the loose rocks were pulled down, so the small spider fell down the cliff. Its body was pressed down by the rubble, and its legs were injured, so it naturally couldn't struggle out. The matter turned out to be that simple, but the spiders ignored the cliff and only searched the nearby mountain range, so they naturally couldn't find any traces of the small spider. But the heaven-rank spider glanced at the small spider picking the treasure on the edge of the cliff, and a gloomy expression flashed in its eyes, as if it was somewhat worried. Chapter 2272. The heaven-rank spider's attitude was very sincere when it said this. It looked like it was truly grateful to Lin Yi from the bottom of its heart. But it couldn't be blamed. Its son had been missing for so many days and had been found by the lightning pig brought by Lin. How could it not be excited and happy? It's good that you found him. Lin Yi nodded and said, So, can we leave now? Of course. The heaven-rank spider said, But in order to express my gratitude, I ask you to give me a chance. Let our spider race entertain you and offer you some heaven and earth treasures. There's no need for a banquet. We don't want to stay in the mountain range for too long. If possible, it would be better to leave as soon as possible. Lin Yi waved his hand. He wasn't interested in the spider race's hospitality, but he was interested in the heaven and earth treasures. I don't think you are in a hurry, right? Moreover, if you don't want to go through the mountain range's main path and instead want to go down the mountain, then our spider race can still help you. The heaven-rank spider said, Apart from the main path, the other paths are incomparably dangerous. If you are careless, you might die without a burial. Lin Yi frowned and looked at the heaven-rank spider. So you have a good method? Yes, we are very familiar with the terrain of the Wulong Haut mountain range. Apart from the main path, there is only one path down the mountain, but it is very difficult to find. This route down the mountain is only known to our spider race. We can help you draw up a simple route map. With our route map, you can take fewer detours and avoid unnecessary danger. The heaven-rank spider explained, I can't say that it will be smooth, but it will at least minimize the risk. Since that's the case, then it will be troublesome. Seeing the enthusiasm of the heaven-rank spider, Lin Yi couldn't refuse, especially since it had a map. This would reduce Lin Yi's troubles, and Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi would also be able to avoid some danger when going down the mountain. But at this time, a few of the spider subordinates that were inspecting the small spider's injuries worriedly whispered a few words to the heaven-rank spider. The heaven-rank spider's expression suddenly became unsightly. What's wrong? Lin Yi couldn't understand their language. My son's leg is very serious. He might not be able to recover in the future. The heaven-rank spider sighed and said, But this is already very good. At least we found him and saved him. I am already very satisfied. I don't know what would happen if he fell into the hands of the Fire Lion clan. Maybe I can have a way. Lin Yi said after some hesitation. After all, the heaven-rank spider didn't seem that difficult to get along with, and it even gave Lin Yi a treasure and a map. This made Lin Yi feel that he should repay them. After all, he was the one who intruded into their territory, so he couldn't be blamed for catching him. What? You have a way? The heaven-rank spider was stunned and looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. The injuries of spirit beasts are different from human cultivators. They can't be healed by eating elixirs. Elixirs are useful for human cultivators, but their effects are negligible for us spirit beasts. Naturally, it's not elixirs. Lin Yi said, Let me do it. After saying that, Lin Yi walked towards the small spider. As for the spider subordinates, they were somewhat on guard when they saw Lin Yi walking over, but seeing that the heaven-rank spider didn't stop him, they naturally didn't stop him. Lin Yi walked in front of the small spider, placed his hand on its body, and circulated the second layer of the art of dragon mastery. The small spider naturally knew that Lin Yi was one of the people who helped it discover, so it didn't resist. It only listened to Lin Yi's words and had some doubts in its heart. However, the next moment, a warm current flowed from Lin Yi's palm into its body, surprising the small spider. And its injuries were miraculously recovering at a speed that it could feel. It was really recovering. The heaven-rank spider was naturally a discerning person. Seeing that its son's injuries were recovering, its gaze towards Lin Yi became even more respectful and grateful. This human cultivator was really different from the rest. On the other hand, Sun Jingyi and Skybolt Pig had indifferent expressions, especially Skybolt Pig. Although he wasn't as powerful as the heaven-rank spider and didn't dare to act rashly, he still looked at it with a very proud expression. "It's done." Lin Yi stood up and said straightforwardly. "That's it?" The heaven-rank spider's eyes widened. Although it saw that the small spider's injuries were getting better, it couldn't be that fast, right? Wasn't the speed a bit too shocking? However, Lin Yi didn't answer. The small spider's actions had already answered the question. The small spider could walk normally, and it looked like it had never been injured. "Many thanks, human cultivator." Although the heaven-rank spider was grateful to Lin Yi, it wasn't that it didn't hold a grudge against him. The good relationship between Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan made it a little uncomfortable, but now, it didn't care whether Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan had a good relationship. This was because Lin Yi was a great benefactor to the Spider Clan. "You are a great benefactor to our Spider Clan. My son and I will never forget it. If you need anything in the future, just say the word." Lin Yi shrugged. The Fire Lion clan had made a similar promise to Lin Yi. He didn't expect the Spider Clan to make a similar promise to Lin Yi. However, the spirit beasts of these two clans were mortal enemies, which gave Lin Yi a headache. But Lin Yi didn't want to get involved in the grievances between them. A mountain couldn't accommodate two tigers. Everyone understood this principle. Especially when spirit beasts were scarce in cultivation resources, there was no possibility of resolving the conflict between the two clans. Making them sit down and divide the resources was a very difficult matter. "Are you having a headache about the relationship between our Spider Clan and the Fire Lion clan?" The heaven-rank spider seemed to have seen through Lin Yi's thoughts and asked. "Yes, you are all my friends now." Lin Yi nodded. It is normal for spirit beasts in the same mountain range to compete with each other. This has been the case since ancient times. The heaven-rank spider explained with a smile, "Only competition can promote the continuous development and cultivation of our two clans. If we really divided the cultivation resources, then our days would be easy and we wouldn't have to cultivate so hard." Chapter 2273. We spirit beasts have our own set of survival rules. The heaven-rank spider said, "Although the Fire Lion clan and I are enemies now, if there are other spirit beasts that want to occupy the Wulong Haut mountain range and get a share, our two clans will join hands to expel the other spirit beasts." "I was thinking too much." Lin Yi nodded. "Benefactor of human cultivators, how should I address you?" The heaven-rank spider asked. "My name is Lin Yi. This is my female companion, Sun Jingyi. This little thing is called Skybolt Pig." Lin Yi introduced Sun Jingyi's identity in front of the heaven-rank spider as his companion. He didn't say that she was his wife because there was no need to lie to it. "Mr. Lin, Miss Sun, shall we go back now? I will prepare a sumptuous banquet for you and offer our Spider Clan's treasures." The heaven-rank spider said, "Since the Fire Lion clan gave you their treasure, the Flaming God Bomb, then our Spider Clan will not show weakness. We will also give you our most valuable treasure." The Spider Clan's most valuable treasure? Lin Yi was slightly surprised. The heaven-rank spider's attitude towards him was obviously different. Previously, it only said that it would give him a heavenly treasure, but now, it wanted to give him the Spider Clan's most valuable treasure. Of course, Lin Yi also understood that this was definitely because he had saved the little spider. That was why the heaven-rank spider was so generous. There was no such thing as an undeserved reward, but Lin Yi had done a meritorious deed, so he wouldn't refuse. "This is the most valuable treasure we used to capture you, the inescapable net." The heaven-rank spider said, "This kind of inescapable net is something that many spiders of our Spider Clan spun together for a long time to weave. However, I can grit my teeth and give you 3. The heaven-rank spider said 3 was naturally referring to the 3 flaming god bombs that the Fire Lion clan gave to Lin Yi. If the Fire Lion clan could take it out, then they naturally wouldn't be outdone. As for the Fire Lion clan swallowing Lin Yi's frenzy fist, it could still make a flaming god bomb for a period of time. The heaven-rank spider naturally couldn't compare. 3 inescapable nets was already his limit, and this was even after going all out and taking out all of his family's wealth. Their spider clan didn't have the ability to swallow the frenzied fire fist to create a large web. Thinking about it, Lin Yi and the Fire Lion clan were really fated. Fortunately, Lin Yi and the spider race were friends, so it was impossible for him to stay with the big Fire Lion indefinitely. Otherwise, the Great Fire Lion could use Lin Yi's frenzied fire fist to create stream of inferno bombs, although it would take a long time to create each time. But this time was enough to make it much faster than if Lin Yi were to settle in the Wulongheot mountain range for a long time. Then the Fire Lion clan would probably make more fire stream bombs. At that time, the number of inescapable net on his side would not be able to keep up, and the Spider clan would suffer a loss. But Lin Yi had received benefits from the spider race, and it looked like Lin Yi wouldn't stay in the Wulongheot mountain range for a long time, so the heaven rank spider was very relieved. This inescapable net is very strange. Naturally, Lin Yi knew about the large net that he had been caught in. That large net was extremely tough. With Lin Yi's ability, he would not be able to withstand it. It could not be destroyed in the slightest. Not bad. The heaven rank spider proudly said, the Fire Lion clan is an attack-type spirit beast. It's a huge blow to our spider clan. Therefore, in order to defend against their attacks when they are picking the treasures, we can use the inescapable net to trap them. In this way, they won't be able to break free in a short period of time. What about in the short term? In other words, it's possible to break free? Lin asked. Of course, the Great Flame Lion's breath and the Little Flame Lion's flaming divine bullets can destroy the inescapable net. But it will take some time. This time is enough for us to escape back. The heaven rank spider said, it's near our cave. The Fire Lion clan wouldn't come to our cave and attack us for no reason. That's right, there's an ancient restriction formation here. Lin Yi nodded. The Fire Lion clan's cave also had an ancient restriction. It seemed that these spirit beasts had their own trump cards. Then, can my flaming divine bullets also destroy this inescapable net? Lin Yi asked. Apart from that, is there no other way to destroy this inescapable net? Your flaming divine bullets naturally can. The heaven rank spider replied. But it's not that other people don't have a way. They can destroy the inescapable net by constantly activating martial skills or using weapons infused with true energy. However, even a heaven rank expert needs a certain amount of time to destroy this inescapable net. I understand. This is a magic weapon that can tie up the enemy in an instant, but it's a one-time use item and can't be recycled. Lin Yi understood the use of this thing. It had to be said that this thing was the same as the flaming divine bullets. It was an excellent life-saving trump card. If Lin Yi had this thing earlier, he wouldn't have been in such a difficult situation when fighting against the Great Protector. He could have directly used the net to trap him. At that time, he could have used true energy bombs and flaming divine bullets to bombard him. Then he could have escaped with Sun Jingyi and wouldn't have been injured. That's it. The heaven rank spider said, currently, we only have these 3 pieces of the inescapable net, so Mr. Lin, please don't think that we are stingy. Of course not. Lin Yi was too happy. For him, treating the small spider was a piece of cake. The Skybolt pig helped the heaven rank spider find the small spider in order to get rid of the suspicion and leave this place. Therefore, these 3 pieces of the inescapable net were free. Thank you for your understanding, benefactor. The heaven rank spider said. As they talked, they returned to the spider clan's cave. The heaven rank spider ordered the other spiders to prepare a banquet while it accompanied Lin Yi to chat with the small spider in the cave. Lin Yi looked at the 3 exquisite small nets in his hand. It was hard to imagine that this was the big net that had caught them before. However, this thing would only expand when it was in use. Normally, it was only the size of a small piece and could be carried at any time. After carefully asking about the method to use it, Lin Yi carefully put it away. This was a great thing. Lin Yi's harvest from this trip to the Wulongheot mountain range was quite plentiful. Mr. Lin, although the gift I took out might be a bit light, but I still have a very important news to tell you as a token of our spider clan's gratitude. The heaven rank spider pondered for a long time before deciding to tell this news. Oh, What news? Linist. Chapter 2274. Heavenly Tao? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't the first time he heard of this term. There should be a higher realm above sky class. This realm might be the legendary Heavenly Tao, but at least among the people Lin Yi had met, there wasn't a Heavenly Tao master. But no didn't mean it didn't exist. Things were often like this. If you didn't stand at a certain height, you wouldn't be able to come into contact with things at that height. Just like Lin Yi in the past, the noble houses were all high and mighty existences in front of Lin Yi. A secular house you once made Lin Yi embarrassed. When he first knew about the secular noble houses, how could Lin Yi have thought that there were hidden noble houses above the noble houses? When Lin Yi came into contact with the hidden noble houses and sects, Lin Yi realized that there were ancient noble houses and ancient sects above them. This was like a normal person who might never come into contact with a cultivator in his lifetime. Those golden class masters who acted as bodyguards for the rich, if they were just bodyguards, they might never come into contact with noble houses and mystic class masters. The logic was the same. The higher one stood, the farther one could see. That's right, but I don't know if there are higher realms above sky class. The heaven spider said, human cultivators are different from spiritual beasts. At least, I don't know if spiritual beasts have broken through sky class and entered the heavenly Tao. Then you mean that you know about human cultivators and the heavenly Tao? Linist. The topic of the heaven spider was quite attractive to Lin Yi. That's right. You guys have some connection with the upper sect. I won't hide it from you guys. In the upper sect, there was a master at the peak of the late stage of sky class, infinitely close to the legendary barrier. The heaven spider said, and he, after that, went to pursue the heavenly Tao, the master of the fire lion? Lin Yi heard the fire lion mention this person. You know about it too? The heaven spider was a bit surprised. It didn't expect the fire lion clan to tell Lin Yi this. Yes, I heard. After he pursued the heavenly Tao, his whereabouts are unknown. Lin Yi nodded. It's not that I don't know where he ended up, but he went to another place. A legendary place where one can break through the barrier of peak late stage of heaven rank. Said the heaven rank spider. You know where he went? Lin Yi's expression froze as he asked. It seemed that the heaven rank spider knew more than the big fire lion. What was going on? I don't know where he went. But I know how he went. The heaven rank spider said, our spider race helped him in this matter. You help him? Lin Yi's eyes widened. Isn't that person the great fire lion's contract owner? You and the fire lion clan are enemies, and he and you. Is it strange? The heaven rank spider looked at Lin Yi strangely. The fire lion clan owes him a favor, so the great fire lion became his contracted spirit beast. He also owes us a favor, so our relationship is very good. Just like Mr. Lin's relationship with us and the fire lion clan. That's true. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't expect the previous one to be in the same situation. Then how did he go there? A teleportation array. The heaven rank spider said, legend says that it can reach a place called Heaven Island. There one can advance to the heavenly Tao. Heaven Island? Lin Yi frowned. Do you know the location of this teleportation array? I do. The heaven rank spider nodded. Legend has it that there are two ways to reach the heaven rank island. One is a secret manual that records a method to construct a teleportation array that can reach the heaven rank island. As for the other method, I'm not too sure. It seems that it requires a group of people to go to a place to open something. Build a teleportation array? You're not trying to tell me that someone built a teleportation array here, are you? In this ancient sect? Lin Yi was very shocked. He didn't expect that the Woolen Hate mountain range, which had been turned into ashes, still hid such a huge secret. That's right. The heaven rank spider said with certainty, this array was created by the founder of this sect. Legend says that it can be used 3 times. He used it once, and that person, who is the contracted master of the Great Fire Lion, used it once. Now, he should be able to use it again. Hiss. Lin Yi sucked in a breath of cold air. Only 3 times? Moreover, he was actually so lucky to find this teleportation array. We are from the Spider Clan. Back then, We were also a spirit beast clan that helped the founder build the teleportation array. The heaven rank spider said, actually, I am the contracted spirit beast of the founder of this sect. I'm going to faint. Lin Yi felt like his brain had short-circuited. The heaven rank spider was actually the contracted spirit beast of the founder of this sect? How long had it lived for? Plus, it and the Fire Lion clan, the contracted spirit beast of the future sect master, were enemies? Weird, right? The heaven rank spider smiled. This secret is actually only known by me and the Fire Lion clan. Even the successors of this sect don't know about it. Then why are you guys fighting each other? Lin Yi didn't understand. In theory, aren't you guys from the same family? I've explained it before. Competition is the only way to stimulate everyone's passion for training. The spider said, don't even talk about us. Even the disciples of the same sect compete with each other? Even the disciples of the same family, don't they compete with each other? Aren't they from the same family? That's true. Lin imagined Yu Bing and Yu Shan, Zhao Qibing and Zhao Qikuan, and it was true. Our bottom line is that we can fight each other, but we can't kill each other. The heaven rank spider said, otherwise, although our spider race has the advantage in numbers, it wouldn't be too hard for the Fire Lion race to exterminate us. Other than me, it's easy for them to deal with the other spiders. Even so, we still have a lot of injuries. But we still have a knack for healing these kinds of injuries, so we won't be crippled. Chapter 2275. If we can stop them we will, but if we can't, we won't force our way out. The heaven rank spider said, this is also the ancestral teaching that my master left for me. The big flame lion's side is probably the same. After all, our two spirit beast clans only have 2 heaven rank spirit beasts. We can't contend against a large number of heaven rank human cultivators. If we can't do it, we will naturally protect ourselves. Our spider clan's duty is to wait for a peak heaven rank great perfection stage expert to appear in this sect and tell him the secret of the teleportation array. That's all. Then tell me now. Wouldn't that violate your master's agreement? Lin Yi asked. This sect is already gone. Moreover, you have some relationship with this sect, so telling you naturally wouldn't be violating the agreement. The heaven rank spider said. Lin Yi nodded and sighed. An ancient sect was actually destroyed in an instant. Do you know who the enemy is? I'm not sure. The heaven rank spider shook its head and said, the enemy is very strong, and there are many heaven rank experts. An innocent man's wealth is his own ruin. Lin Yi sighed. For a so-called treasure, they actually made such a big fuss. Lin Yi originally wanted to inquire about Faubert's enemies, but now it seemed that even the big flame lion and the heaven rank spider were confused. Treasure? Naturally, that's the reason. But what they're looking for isn't the treasure. The spider's words shocked Lin Yi, making him jump in fright. It's not a treasure? Lin Yi was surprised. You can say that, but you can also say that it isn't. The heaven rank spider said, this sect has 2 people pursuing the heavenly Tao, so it naturally attracted the greed of some forces. According to what I heard from those people, they heard that this sect has something that can help them break through the heaven rank and pursue the heavenly Tao, so they came to snatch it. But the treasure in your hands is being treated as something that can help them break through the heaven rank and pursue the heavenly Tao. Treated as something? Lin Yi frowned. After carefully pondering over the heaven rank spider's words, he suddenly understood a few things. They are actually looking for that teleportation array, right? It's just that they don't know that there's a teleportation array here, and they think that the treasure is a treasure that can help them break through the heavenly rank and step into the heavenly Tao? That's it. The spider nodded. That treasure is indeed a treasure. It can provide pure chi to human cultivators, but I'm not sure if it can help a peak late phase heaven stage cultivator enter the heavenly Tao. But this treasure was discovered by this sect in the last few decades, so it's impossible for it to be something that those people are imagining. So, it's a big misunderstanding. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Faubert was really unlucky. He made a treasure and caused others to misunderstand. It can't be considered a mistake. After all, the value of this treasure is immeasurable, said the heaven rank spider. You're right. Lin Yi said in agreement. Lin Yi knew the benefits of his jade pendant space. although this strange white stone couldn't be compared with the jade pendant space. But if he took it out alone, it was still a very rare treasure in the world. Sun Jingyi quietly listened to the conversation between Lin Yi and the heaven-rank spider. Her heart was in turmoil. These things were too shocking. It was simply unimaginable. However, Lin Yi didn't seem to be on guard against her at all. Heaven Stage, Heavenly Tao, although these things were very far away from Sun Jingyi was also a cultivator. She naturally understood the significance of these things. If the news spread, it would probably set off a storm. A legend. It could destroy an ancient sect. If they actually found the teleportation array, then it was really hard to say what kind of consequences it would bring. Was this trust in her? The corner of Jingyi's lips curled up into an inexplicable smile as she watched Lin Yi talking to the sky-class spider. She raised her eyebrows as well. There was a strange feeling in her heart. Did he really think of her as one of his own? After knowing so many of his secrets, would she always stay by his side in the future? However, thinking of the fierce competition for the girlfriend position around Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi was a little conflicted. Be it Song Lingshan or Yu Shu, they were all waiting in line, right? However, take this treasure back and don't spread it around. Otherwise, it will cause a lot of trouble. The heaven-rank spider reminded. Of course, even you and the Fire Lion clan couldn't fight against this force. I'd better be careful. Lin Yi said in deep thought. After fighting with the Grand Guardian, Lin Yi had this thought. Then I won't say more. The heaven-rank spider nodded. Aren't you anxious to know where the teleportation array is? What's the use of being anxious? I can't do anything if you don't bring me there. Lin Yi shrugged. It's not a problem to bring you there, but with your current strength, it's best not to use the teleportation array. Let's not talk about the unknown dangers that might appear at the teleportation location. The energy produced by the teleportation array can't be endured by anyone below sky class. The heaven-rank spider explained. I understand. I'm just curious. I'm not that overconfident, Lin Yi smiled. With my strength, isn't going to Sky Class Island the same as suicide? The teleportation array is at the other end of the mountain stream. It's not easy for us spiders to cross. We have to draw silk one by one. You won't be able to cross it with your current strength. The heaven-rank spider said. If you want to take a look, I'll bring some people to draw a silk bridge. It'll take about one night. You can go and take a look tomorrow. Then I'll trouble you. Lin Yi said. It's nothing, it's within my ability. The heaven-rank spider said. At this time, the spider subordinates had already prepared a sumptuous banquet. The wine was fruit wine that they brewed themselves. It was said that there were heavenly treasures added to it. It was very beneficial for cultivation. The food was also natural fruits. It was similar to what they ate at the Fire Lion's territory. Lin Yi wasn't polite. After eating a big meal with Sun Jingyi, the heaven-rank spider gave the cave to Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and the skybolt pig to rest. It then led its spider subordinates and even the small spiders to build a silk bridge for Lin. Chapter 2276. Benefactor, our spider clan will need to weave the silk bridge through the night. It should be done in one night, the spider said. The heaven-rank spider said, you can rest here tonight. No one or spirit beast will break through the ancient restriction and disturb you. Alright, thanks for the trouble. Lin Yi said. It's not that troublesome. In order to repay a favor, the spider shook its head and smiled. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. After all, he was quite curious about the teleportation circle, and it would be troublesome for the spider clan to make the silk bridge in order to satisfy his curiosity. Right? Although there are ancient restrictions in the cave, there aren't any outside. If you want to go out at night, you should be careful. The spider reminded, we're not here, so we're afraid that your enemies will take advantage of this. I have 1,000 silk mask here. After wearing it, you'll look completely different. If you want to go to the toilet or something, it's best to wear the mask, and if someone asks, just say that you're a guest of our spider clan. The spider clan and the Fire Lion clan have always had grudges, and if it's someone from the Tagan clan, they'll definitely know about this. Seeing that you're unfamiliar and are guests, they won't do anything to you. Thank you very much. Lin Yi couldn't help but feel grateful for the spider's thoughtfulness. If he and Sun Jingyi were the Spider Clan's guests, then it definitely wouldn't be the Zhang Naipeo who had a relationship with the Fire Lion clan. Plus, their appearances were different, so they wouldn't look into it. It was just that Lin Yi was a bit curious as to what that 1,000 silk mask was. What's that mask you're talking about? This mask is a special treasure that our Spider Clan can make. It's just that it's very difficult to make, and it requires 2 spiders above the sky class to make it. It also requires a lot of external conditions and materials, so we only have one in stock. The spider said, only one of you can use it. With that, the spider took out 1,000 silk mask and gave it to Lin. This is it? Lin Yi looked at the thin mask in the heaven rank spider's hand and was somewhat amazed. That thing looked like a transparent silicone mask, but after touching it, it felt smooth and silky, just like human skin. It felt very good. Yes, give it a try. The heaven rank spider nodded. Lin Yi didn't try it. Instead, he directly put the 1,000 silk mask on Sun Jingyi's face. Sure enough, Sun Jingyi suddenly turned into another person, completely different from her previous image. Even Lin Yi, who was extremely familiar with her, couldn't recognize who she was at this moment. This was really a good treasure, and it was perfect for disguising himself. So magical? Lin Yi said in surprise, can this mask change its appearance? No, the appearance of this mask is fixed. You can't change it according to your own imagination. The heaven rank spider shook its head and said, I have heard of a mask that can change one's appearance according to one's imagination, but I don't know how to make it. So that's how it is, but this is already very good. Lin Yi said, your spider race only has one such precious item. I'm a bit embarrassed to ask for it. Hee, it's useless for our spider race to keep this mask. We don't need to change our appearance. The heaven rank spider said, my previous contracted master and the second person who passed through this teleportation array also don't need this thing, so I'm giving it to you, benefactor. Then I won't refuse. Lin Yi no longer declined and accepted the mask. This was indeed a good thing. Lin Yi really couldn't refuse. I'm done. I have to take my people to work. See you tomorrow morning, Mr. Lin. Mr. Lin, the heaven rank spider said. See you tomorrow morning. Lin Yi nodded. After the heaven rank spider left with its subordinates, Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi also went to sleep. The heaven rank spider had prepared a bed in the cave, so they didn't have to worry about not having a place to sleep. Jingyi was tired as well and soon fell asleep. Lin Yi, on the other hand, went into the jade space to continue his training. Ever since leaving the big flame lion's nest, Lin Yi had been worried, afraid that the Great Protectors group would come looking for trouble. And that night, Lin Yi's group slept very soundly. They didn't need to worry about enemies invading, nor did they need to worry about any accidents happening. Although Lin Yi was also inside the jade space and was using his mind power to sense the surroundings, it was a lot more relaxed compared to the previous few nights. Sun Jingyi slept very well, and the Skybolt pig also slept very soundly. When the man and the beast woke up, the sky was already gray. It was dawn. Pho! Sun Jingyi stretched, but didn't get up. Instead, she laid on the mattress and looked at Lin Yi lazily. She had a natural charm. I slept very soundly. I haven't slept this soundly in a long time. Lin Yi looked at Sun Jingyi. Her current appearance was the most seductive. This woman had an indescribable charm. Her casual movements could tug at a man's heartstrings, and people couldn't help but want to push her down. There really wasn't a woman like this around Lin Yi. The miss was a bit cold, Shu and Xiao Xiao were a bit crazy, Wang Xinyan was a bit quiet, and Lingshan was a bit fiery. On the other hand, Sun Jingyi had an indescribable charm. No wonder Wu Chintian was so infatuated with her. If Lin Yi didn't have enough willpower, he would have fallen for her already. Lin Yi didn't mind having something happen with Sun Jingyi, but now wasn't a good time. Can you not tempt me like this? Lin Yi's eyes swept across Sun Jingyi's beautiful figure and said faintly, Tempt? Are you that easily tempted? Sun Jingyi smiled faintly. The first time I saw you, I asked you for help. You seemed to have a strong willpower, and you didn't get blinded by beauty at all. People change, Lin Yi said. Recently, my willpower hasn't been good. Maybe it's because Xiao Xiao left. Let's not talk about this. Sun Jingyi didn't hate this ambiguous topic, but she was afraid that Lin Yi would bring up Xiao Xiao and Tang Yun. This was a taboo topic, so Sun Jingyi didn't say much. What time is it? Chapter 2277. Let's go out and take a look? I guess the spider race is almost done? Sun Jingyi said. It should be almost done? Lin Yi nodded and left the spider's cave with Sun Jingyi. However, what made Lin Yi feel strange was that there was no spider at the entrance of the spider's cave. It wasn't strange that there were no spiders guarding the entrance because there were ancient restrictions in the cave, so there was no need to worry about external enemies invading. However, it was strange that there wasn't even a spider waiting to inform them. Although the Heaven Rank spider said that it would help Lin Yi weave a silk bridge last night, the entire spider race had been dispatched. With so many spiders, how could it not be finished in one night? How big of a project was this? Besides, even if it wasn't finished, it was already dawn. The Heaven Rank spider should have sent a spider back to inform Lin Yi, right? Now there was not a single spider. What was the situation? Thinking of this, Lin Yi frowned. He suddenly had a bad premonition. Could it be that something went wrong? After carefully looking around the surroundings, Lin Yi didn't find any abnormalities, and there were no traces of fighting. In fact, Lin Yi was just taking a look. If something really happened here last night, it was impossible for Lin Yi, who was cultivating in the space of the jade pendant, to not notice it at all. Why is there not a single spider? Sun Jingyi also noticed something was wrong and asked curiously. I'm afraid something went wrong. Lin Yi didn't know where the Sky Moat Mountain stream was. The Heaven Rank spider didn't explain in detail last night, and Lin Yi didn't ask. After all, he knew that the Heaven Rank spider would take him there, so he naturally wouldn't ask those meaningless questions. But now, there wasn't even a direction. It can't be, right? Isn't this their territory? How could there be a mistake? Moreover, even if there was a mistake, it's impossible that there isn't a single spider, right? Sun Jingyi said curiously. I don't know yet. I have a bad feeling in my heart. I keep feeling that something is going to happen, Lin Yi said. Is it because there isn't a single spider that you feel that something is wrong? That's true. Sun Jingyi nodded. Could it be because the silk bridge hasn't been built yet, so they are working overtime? We can't rule out that possibility. After all, Lin Yi did not understand the habits of spirit beasts. Perhaps the spider spirit beast was the kind of spirit beast that was more rigorous and would not stop until it was done. Shall we wait then? Sun Jingyi asked. That's the only way, Lin Yi said. Just like that, the two of them and Skybolt Pig waited at the entrance of the cave. In the blink of an eye, a few hours had passed. Lin Yi's heart grew heavier and heavier. He felt that things weren't as simple as they seemed. Although he didn't know what the problem was, it was definitely not normal. Seeing that Lin Yi's expression was getting heavier and heavier, Sun Jingyi couldn't help but ask, Is there a problem? Who knows? Lin Yi didn't expect that there would be a problem. Perhaps there really is an accident. The Spider Clan doesn't seem like spirit beasts that don't keep their promises. Moreover, if they didn't keep their promises, there was no need for them to tell us about these things. They could have just not said anything yesterday. We will leave today. There's no need for them to disappear. Then, what should we do now? Sun Jingyi nodded and asked in agreement. Skybolt Pig, can you find out where the spiders went? Lin Yi turned his head and looked at Skybolt Pig. He could only place his hopes on Skybolt Pig. Rar. Skybolt Pig nodded to indicate that he could. He had already remembered the smell of the Spider Clan. As long as they didn't go beyond a certain range, he would be able to find them. Hey, bring us to them now. Lin Yi immediately made a decision. Rar. Skybolt Pig ran in front while Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi followed behind. They headed in the opposite direction of the valley where they picked the herbs yesterday. Skybolt Pig was heading towards the dark side of the Wulong Haut mountain range. There were fewer types of plants and the road was easy to walk on. However, Lin Yi's heart was filled with vigilance. He was always on guard against any accidents. However, it was very quiet along the way. There were no spirit beasts, no signs of human activity, and no unexpected accidents. Soon, a magnificent silk bridge made of spider silk appeared in front of Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi from afar. The silk bridge went through the two sides of a mountain stream. It was obvious that the spider clan had finished weaving the silk bridge. However, this situation made Lin Yi feel even more strange. Where did all the spiders go? The silk bridge was here, but not a single spider could be seen. This strange situation made one's hair stand on end. It was too strange and too scary. Lin didn't rush forward recklessly. Instead, he stopped in his tracks and carefully sensed the reaction of the jade pendant. If he continued forward and the jade pendant gave him a warning, it would be too late, like when he was caught by the huge net. After all, the situation in the Wulong Haut mountain range was special. Knowing the danger didn't mean that one could avoid it. Just like the spider's inescapable net, even if Lin Yi received a warning from the jade pendant, he would have enough time to react. However, the huge net was different from normal dangers. Not only could it expand, it could also shrink, making it impossible for people to defend against it. Therefore, this time, Lin Yi learned to be smart. He decided to wait and see. It seems like there isn't any danger? Lin Yi touched his chin. His expression was a little strange. In fact, he didn't quite believe it himself. There was no danger here at all. After all, the situation at this time had exceeded Lin Yi's imagination. Sun Jingyi was silent. She didn't have the right to speak because she had zero experience in this situation. It wasn't good for her to casually answer and affect Lin Yi's judgment. Let's take a look first. Lin Yi could only walk in the direction of the silk bridge. To be honest, Lin Yi could totally turn around and leave now, but he couldn't resist the curiosity in his heart. Let's not talk about where the spiders went. The mysterious teleportation array that led to the Heaven Stage Island also made Lin Yi very curious. Sun Jingyi was also a little curious. Although her cultivation path was different from others, the legendary threshold that could break through the Heaven Stage and step into the Heaven Path was enough to arouse her strong curiosity and desire. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi reached an agreement. They moved forward again and came to the edge of the silk bridge. There was no accident. The jade pendant on Lin Yi's chest was also calm. However, the more it was so, the more uneasy Lin Yi's heart was. Chapter 2278. But the silk bridge had been built and the spider race had disappeared. I'll go take a look first, you wait for me here. If the situation is not good, take the skybolt pig and run back to the cave. I'll also give you these 3 inescapable nets. Lin Yi said as he gave the inescapable nets that the heaven rank spider had given him to Sun Jingyi. Sun Jingyi didn't want Lin Yi to take the risk, but after coming here, Lin Yi wouldn't be willing to leave without taking a look. Therefore, Sun Jingyi hesitated for a moment before agreeing, "Okay, you go, but be careful." Lin Yi nodded with a smile and jumped onto the silk bridge. Although the silk bridge looked a bit like walking on a tightrope, it wasn't difficult for a cultivator like Lin. Moreover, the silk bridge wasn't long and the mountain stream could be seen at a glance. On the bridge, Lin Yi walked forward slowly as if he was walking on thin ice, paying attention to the jade's reaction as well. What made Lin Yi pleasantly surprised and regretful was that when he reached the other side of the mountain stream, the jade pendant didn't have any reaction. In other words, Lin Yi didn't encounter any danger. However, the more it was like this, the more Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. There was no danger, so where did the spider race go? Wasn't this a bit unreasonable? No problem. Lin Yi waved his hand at Sun Jingyi and then quickly walked back along the silk bridge. Lin Yi could smoothly cross, but it didn't mean that Sun Jingyi could. Although Sun Jingyi was also a cultivator, she was a very different kind of cultivator. In fact, she didn't have any strength. This silk bridge was a bit difficult for her, so Lin Yi had to support her. After returning to the silk bridge, Lin Yi had a better understanding of its sturdiness. Although it looked very thin, it was very sturdy. Therefore he, Sun Jingyi, and the skybolt pig had no problem getting on the silk bridge. This bridge looks a bit scary. You have to support me, I'll definitely die if I fall. Sun Jingyi looked at the bottomless mountain stream and said with a guilty conscience, "Even if you can heal, I won't be able to survive if I fall and turn into a meat patty." "Then you can hold me. I won't die if I fall, but it will be hard to get up." Lin Yi looked at the bottom of the mountain stream. He didn't lie to Sun Jingyi. This mountain stream was very steep. Even if Lin Yi fell, it wouldn't be easy for him to get back up. Lin Yi couldn't jump so high. Even if it was divided into multiple jumps, it still wouldn't work. This cliff was very steep, and it wouldn't be easy to find a foothold. It wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't too high, but it was too deep. Unless Lin Yi could fly, he wouldn't be able to get up. Then it's better not to fall. Sun Jingyi said, if we fall, we'll be savages for the rest of our lives. However, as she said this, Sun Jingyi suddenly had a very strange feeling in her heart. If she and Lin Yi fell together, would they be considered a husband and wife? And then stay together for the rest of their lives? Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't say anything. He carried Jingyi in his arms while she was thinking about the problem, taking big steps towards the bridge. Lin Yi didn't have any problems with his balance. Not to mention carrying Sun Jingyi, even if he was carrying a heavier object, as long as the silk bridge could withstand it, Lin Yi would have no problem crossing it. The Skybolt pig was small and very agile, so crossing the silk bridge wasn't a problem. Soon, 2 people and 1 beast arrived at the opposite side of the silk bridge. Lin Yi also put Sun Jingyi down, but Sun Jingyi was a little embarrassed to be carried by Lin. She glanced at Lin Yi, but didn't say anything. Because Sun Jingyi saw that Lin Yi's face had become serious, so she didn't joke anymore. What's wrong? There are traces of battle here. Lin Yi pointed at some marks on the ground and said to Sun Jingyi, could it be that the spider clan met their enemies here, and something happened? Sun Jingyi lowered her head and carefully looked at the direction that Lin Yi pointed. Sure enough, she saw some messy footprints on the ground, as well as some withered grass that had been burned by fire, so she said, the Fire Lion clan? They came here? It's hard to say. Lin Yi stood up and said, let's go forward and see. I don't know what the situation is here, but if there was a battle, we didn't find any corpses of spirit beasts. Yes, this platform doesn't look big. Besides the cave not far away, there is no other way to go. It's clear at a glance. If a battle happened here, then where did the Spider Clan go after the battle? Sun Jingyi said strangely, let's go inside the cave. Lin Yi raised his head and looked at the cave, then said, if my guess is correct, that cave should be the location of the teleportation formation. Let's go and take a look first. Sun Jingyi and Lin Yi walked towards the cave together. They could see the situation inside clearly by standing at the entrance of the cave. The cave wasn't big, so they could see the whole inside at a glance. There were no spirit beasts in the cave, and it was quiet. In other words, there were no spirit beasts on this platform, including the cave. It seems that things are really strange. Lin Yi pondered for a moment, then said, there are so many spiders. Even if there was a conflict with the Fire Lion clan, it's impossible for all of them to disappear. Could they have been captured by the Fire Lion clan? Sun Jingyi guessed. That's not possible, right? Even if the Fire Lion clan has the advantage of offensive attributes, it would be difficult to capture so many spiders. Lin Yi shook his head and denied this idea. 3 fire lions and the number of spiders simply weren't equal. Lin Yi believed that they could kill all of these spiders, but capturing all of them wouldn't be that easy. It was almost impossible. In any case, let's take a look inside the cave first. Lin Yi said. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi entered the cave. There was actually nothing special inside the cave. What made Lin Yi curious was the teleportation formation. Lin Yi wasn't too sure, because he only saw a few stones on the ground forming a strange symbol. He didn't know if it was the teleportation formation that the heaven rank spider mentioned. As for how to activate it, Lin Yi didn't know, and he didn't dare to casually try. Lin Yi could only take out his phone and take a picture of the situation inside the cave. He was going to take it back and study it carefully when he had the chance. Chapter 2279. It should be. Lin Yi shrugged. Other than that, I really don't know what else is special about this cave. Sun Jingyi carefully looked around the cave, but she really didn't see anything special. Other than the pile of strange stones on the ground, there was nothing else that could be called a teleportation array. Is it really here? Sun Jingyi looked at the stones on the ground suspiciously. Why does it feel like it's broken? That I don't know. Lin Yi was just guessing. It's really strange. Sun Jingyi frowned. Let's leave this place first. Lin Yi looked around and his curiosity was satisfied. He found that this place was just SOSO, so he wasn't interested in staying any longer. Sun Jingyi naturally didn't have any objections. On the way back, Lin Yi still hugged her, which made Sun Jingyi's heart ripple again. Skybolt Pig, do you know where the spiders went? This was almost the end of the mountain range. Lin Yi couldn't see the spiders, so he could only pin his hope on Skybolt Pig. GG. Skybolt Pig shook his head. He used his front paw to point here and then waved his hand. Lin Yi understood what he meant. It meant that the clues stopped here. He could only find this place based on the smell of the spiders, but there was no way to continue searching. Okay. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Even Skybolt Pig couldn't find the spiders, so Lin Yi didn't have to continue searching nearby. However, before leaving, Lin Yi still didn't give up. He returned to the spider's nest with Sun Jingyi and Skybolt Pig, but to their disappointment, the spiders still didn't appear. The cave where the nest was located was still quiet, and there was no sign of any spiders. Let's go. Lin Yi sighed, thinking that this matter was strange. In just one night it had become like this. Things were very strange. Although nothing had happened for the time being, there was no guarantee that something would happen after a long time. In short, Lin Yi did not want to stay in this strange place any longer. Where are we going now? Sun Jingyi asked. Let's go look for the Fire Lion clan. The Heaven Rank Spider said that apart from the main path leading up the mountain, there is only one path leading down the mountain. Moreover, it is extremely dangerous. If we go there, we might not be able to survive. Lin Yi dispelled the idea of taking a risk. The spider race had disappeared and the map was also gone. Lin Yi planned to go to the Great Fire Lion to take a look. If it also had the map, that would be the best. He could also take the Flaming God Bombs and inquire about the spider race. All right. Sun Jingyi nodded. Lin Yi left a message on the ground of the cave, explaining that he and Sun Jingyi had left first. Although the spiders had disappeared for no reason, Lin Yi wasn't sure if they would come back. It wasn't very polite to leave without saying goodbye, so Lin Yi decided to leave his whereabouts behind. It could be considered an explanation to the spiders. Walking out of the spider race's territory, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi's complexion was not very good. Things were really too strange, beyond their imagination. From here, although Lin Yi was not very familiar with the road to the Fire Lion clan's cave, with the Thunder Pig as a guide, there would not be any problem. Although they were in the middle range of the Wulong Haut, Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi did not relax. They were afraid that the people of the Tagan family would come looking for trouble. However, what Lin Yi did not know was that Old Six had been squatting near the top of the mountain and had no intention of going to the middle range. Old Six also knew that there were two spiritual beasts in the middle range. Unless he had nothing better to do, he would not go and fight with those two spiritual beasts. These days, Old Six had been walking back and forth around the upper range of the Wulong Haut mountain range. He also found the cave that Lin Yi had lived in. However, he did not find anything valuable in the cave. Instead, he found a small iron box. From its appearance, it should be a box that stored something valuable. If Old Six's guess was correct, this box should contain the treasure that Master wanted. However, this treasure had already been taken away. This box obviously had no value. Other than that, there were also some fast food packaging in the cave. From this, it seemed that the people in the cave had not left for long because there was not much dust on the packaging and the iron box. With 12th guarding the lower part of the mountain range, 6th brother was not afraid of anything. He only needed to guard the upper part of the mountain range. If they really encountered a master who could split the mountains and split the seas, even if he and 12th went together, it would be useless. Now, Old Six was hoping that the one who killed Old 13 was not Zhang Naipeo and his wife, but someone else. It would be best if they could split up. If they did, then he would be able to find trouble with Zhang Naipeo. Old 12 had been blocking the path down the mountain with House Tagan's guards. Every day, they would interrogate the adventurers going up and down the mountain. However, these people were all very weak. Most of them hadn't even stepped into Golden Class, and the strongest was only Golden Class. Plus, the number of adventurers in each team was the same as when they went up the mountain, so there wasn't much to investigate. House Tagan may be the strongest, but that was a hidden strength. On the surface, They were just a little stronger than the others. They couldn't interfere with the adventurers going up the mountain through other families and forces. After all, they couldn't just seal the mountain just because of House Taggin. Old 12 didn't have that intention, and House Taggin naturally wouldn't do anything unnecessary. But today, the situation was a little different. Suddenly, a strange cry came from not far from the exit of the mountain range. Following that, a crazy old man with disheveled hair and tattered clothes ran down the mountain. He didn't hide his peak heaven rank strength and revealed it to the world, causing everyone's expressions to tighten. And Old 12's expression changed. A Sky Class late phase peak, the same level as Old 6. Although he was also Sky Class, he was only Sky Class early phase peak. There was a huge gap between him and the person in front of him. Could it be that this was the master that Old 6 had mentioned? With that thought, Old 12's heart skipped a beat. Although he came from that place and had a pure practitioner's arts and techniques, making him stronger than normal people of the same level, he didn't have much confidence against a Sky Class late phase peak that was a few levels higher than him. Chapter 2280. In his opinion, even the 13th brother was able to injure him, so the 12th brother felt that he wasn't his opponent at all. Especially after receiving the 6th brother's warning, he wouldn't rashly make a move against this peak heaven rank late stage freak, so he just frowned and waved his hand at the people behind him, indicating that they shouldn't act rashly. Even if this person was the murderer who killed the 13th brother, then the 12th brother was definitely not his opponent. The 13th brother was only a little weaker than him, but this crazy old man with the strength of the peak heaven rank late stage was obviously domineering and full of true chi, as if he wasn't injured at all. In other words, this person killed the 13th brother without any injuries. What kind of concept was that? The 12th brother was very clear in his heart. No wonder the 6th brother said that the enemy was very strong. Since that was the case, he naturally didn't need to stop him, so he let the heaven rank freak run down the mountain and run away in front of everyone's eyes, although the other families and gangs in the town were also very puzzled by such an obvious powerhouse. Where did he come from? But no one was stupid enough to stop him and question him. The strength of the heaven rank freak was completely exposed. As long as it was a practitioner, they would be able to see that he was an expert with the strength of the peak heaven rank late stage, who would dare to act rashly? Phew! The 12th brother watched the heaven rank freak go far away before letting out a sigh of relief. He had been under a lot of psychological pressure just now. After all, the 13th brother might have died in that person's hands, and this kind of pressure of seeing an enemy but not being able to make a move made the 12th brother feel very uncomfortable. A little impatience spoils great plans. The 12th brother reminded himself, then quickly calmed his emotions, took a pen and paper, and wrote down what he saw, then tied it to the feet of the flying spirit beast and let it fly out. He had to inform the 6th brother of this news as soon as possible. At the top of the Wulong Haut mountain range, the 6th brother looked at the 12th brother's letter and sighed in his heart. Sure enough, his guess was right. It was an expert with the strength of the peak heaven rank late stage. It was right that the 12th brother didn't stop him, otherwise he wouldn't have been his opponent. Thinking of the huge pit at the top of the mountain range, the 6th brother felt shocked. This level of expert was probably similar to his master, infinitely close to the peak heaven rank late stage, only lacking an opportunity to step into the heavenly law. Just a peak late stage heaven rank left? That means that Zhang Naipeo and his wife are still in the Oolong Mountains? A cold smile appeared on Old 6's face as he thought of this possibility. That's good news. Originally, Old 6 was thinking that if someone were to kill 13th, it would be that person who was supporting Zhang Naipeo and his wife. If this person were to stay by their side, then he and Old 12 wouldn't be able to take the food from the tiger's mouth even if they teamed up. They'd be in a very passive position. Old 6, on the other hand, had been hiding, not daring to show his face in public. He was also afraid of being attacked by a peak late-stage heaven class master. He wanted to wait for the three to separate, but that didn't seem to be necessary now. Zhang Naipeo and his wife didn't go down the mountain, but the heaven class monster did. As long as he and Old 12 stayed at the foot of the mountain, these two wouldn't be able to escape. What Old 6 and Old 12 thought of, naturally, was what Lin Yi thought as well. The heaven class monster had run away for no reason, and Lin Yi had lost this powerful bodyguard. Naturally, he became more careful, especially with the disappearance of the Spider Clan. This made him feel that this Oolong Mountains was full of mysteriousness. He carefully followed Skybolt Pig and Sun Jingyi to the Fire Lion Clan's turf, but what surprised Lin Yi was that the Fire Lions weren't in their nest. There were only 3 lions in the Fire Lion Clan, and it was possible for them to go out together. Although Lin Yi's heart sank when he saw the empty nest, he still waited here with Sun Jingyi. There was an ancient seal on the outside, but it wasn't set up for Lin Yi, Sun Jingyi, and Skybolt Pig. They could enter without a hitch, and they wouldn't have to worry about any intruders. Why is the Fire Lion Clan not here? Jingyi, too, felt that something wasn't right. Lin Yi might be able to keep his composure, but she wasn't. I don't know, but this is strange. Lin Yi said, we can't rule out the possibility that they went out to look for food or treasures. Let's wait and see. Sun Jingyi nodded, feeling very depressed. If she knew that this trip to the Wulong Haut mountain range would cause so much trouble and encounter so many strange things, she wouldn't have suggested Lin Yi to accompany her here. This place was too dangerous and it was full of suspense. They waited for a day and a night, but the Fire Lion Clan still didn't return. This situation made Lin Yi feel more and more uneasy. The Spider Clan disappeared, and the Fire Lion Clan also disappeared. Moreover, it seemed like it happened at the same time. Previously, Lin Yi and the Fire Lion Clan agreed that when they went down the mountain, they would come here to pick up a Firestream God Bomb. In theory, even if the Fire Lion Clan went out to look for treasures, it was impossible for the whole clan to go out. There had to be one person left here to wait for Lin Yi. Even if they all went out, they would rush back as soon as possible. It was impossible for them to leave for so long without any movement. This didn't match the Fire Lion Clan's character. They wouldn't neglect a benefactor like Lin Yi. Skybolt Pig, can you sense where the Fire Lion Clan is? Lin Yi turned to look at Skybolt Pig and asked. However, Skybolt Pig shook his head and squeaked twice. Then, he used his claws to write on the soft ground. It's been too long, the smell has disappeared, can't be traced. Moreover, they don't seem to be in the range of my senses. Not in the range of my senses? Lin Yi frowned. Although the smell of the Fire Lion's route might have disappeared, under normal circumstances, Skybolt Pig could also find the spiritual beasts and treasures he was looking for without relying on this route. Since Skybolt Pig said so, did it mean that the Fire Lion Clan had really gone far? They shouldn't be in the Wulong Haut mountain range anymore. Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground again. Huh. Lin Yi looked at the words written by Skybolt Pig and couldn't help but get a shock. Not in the Wulong Haut mountain range? Then where did the Fire Lion Clan go? The Fire Lion Clan usually didn't even go to the upper and lower ranges. Now that they were not in the mountain range, where did they go? Chapter 2281. Lin Yi took a deep breath. Although this news shocked him, ever since the mysterious disappearance of the Spider Clan, Lin Yi's mental fortitude had become a bit stronger. Seeing that the Fire Lion Clan had also mysteriously disappeared, he only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Similarly, Lin Yi wrote a message for the Fire Lion before leaving with Sun Jingyi and the Skybolt Pig. As for the truth behind the disappearance of the Fire Lion Clan and the Spider Clan, it had to be pushed back to the night when Lin Yi stayed in the Spider Clan's nest. A silk bridge was finally built in the wee hours of the morning. Just as the heaven-rank spider was about to bring its clansmen back to rest, something unexpected happened. Roar! An angry roar echoed as 3 fiery red silhouettes rapidly rushed over. The Fire Lion had brought the cubs and lionesses to attack the Spider Clan. The 3 figures were extremely fast. Before the spider race could react, the 3 figures had already jumped onto the spider race's silk bridge, forcing the spider race that was preparing to retreat back to the other side of the mountain stream. Although this silk bridge was built by the Spider Clan, destroying it wasn't something that could be done in a day. They couldn't be like the Fire Lion and burn the silk bridge. They also couldn't stop the Fire Lion from bringing the cubs and lionesses onto the silk bridge. They could only keep retreating and escaping. Roar! The great Fire Lion roared angrily, and the little Fire Lion and lioness beside it also roared angrily. After the great Fire Lion got off the silk bridge, it no longer had any scruples. It directly released a flame breath, burning the spiders that were too slow to escape. Immediately, a large number of spiders were burned. Although it wasn't life-threatening, these spiders would have to use up a lot of treasures to recover. The heaven-rank spider's expression was very gloomy. It hadn't expected that the fire lion would choose to attack at this time. And it was 3 fire lions at once. What was even more strange was that the cubs and lionesses' strength had actually increased to the peak of the late phase of the mystic class. In this way, although the little fire lion and the lioness, who originally had no combat strength, could not use flame breath, they could still activate the fire element true energy. This hot true energy was also fatal to the spider race when it came out with their claws. Today, when the heaven-rank spiders saw the little spider picking the treasure on the cliff, it knew that things weren't going to be easy. This was because that heavenly treasure was a heavenly treasure that was useful to the Fire Lion clan, just like the heavenly treasure that was useful to the Spider clan that the little spider had picked. As for the fire elemental heaven and earth treasure at the edge of the cliff, it was actually not very useful to the Spider clan. This was the first time that the little spider had gone out alone to gain experience, so it did not know such common knowledge. It had also plucked the heaven and earth treasure from the Fire Lion clan. This had violated the tacit understanding between the two clans. Although the spirit beasts of the two clans usually clashed over treasures, they were only fighting over treasures that were useful to both clans. As for treasures that were only useful to one of the clans, the spirit beasts of both clans would tacitly choose to ignore them. After all, this kind of thing was useless to their own clan. What was the point of picking it? When you picked someone else's, someone else would also pick yours. In the end, both sides would suffer. Wouldn't that be a problem? Therefore, for thousands of years, this had almost become an unwritten rule between the two clans on the Wulong Haut mountain range. The little spider didn't know this and touched the Fire Lion clan's fire treasure. At that time, because Lin Yi was present and they had just found the little spider, the heaven-rank spider didn't say much. It hoped that the treasure was on the edge of the cliff and the Fire Lion clan wouldn't notice it. But now, seeing the Fire Lion clan furiously looking for trouble, the heaven-rank spider knew that the Fire Lion clan definitely knew that the fire heaven treasure had been picked. In the middle of the Wulong Haut mountain range, there were only these two clans of spirit beasts. Other ordinary little beasts didn't dare to step into the territory of the middle from the lower ridges, let alone pick the treasure. Therefore, the fire attribute heavenly treasure was either picked by the Fire Lion clan or by the Spider clan. It was no wonder that the Fire Lion clan was angry. That fire heavenly treasure was a heavenly treasure that had to be used to make the Fire Stream heavenly bomb. Every year, a few of these heavenly treasures would grow on the Wulong Haut mountain range. The Great Fire Lion knew very well that he would pick them according to the order in which they ripened. It just so happened that it was the turn of the one on the cliff. But when it went to pick it today, it found that someone had beaten it to it. This was used to make the Fireball God Bomb for its benefactor. Now that it was gone and it couldn't make the Fireball God Bomb, how could it explain to Lin Yi? So, how could the Fire Lion not be angry? What did your Spider clan want? Did they want to break the rules that had been around for thousands of years? It was true that everyone competed for public cultivation resources, but these private cultivation resources had never interfered with each other. When did the Fire Lion clan touch your treasure? In fact, this rule was also the reason why the heaven-rank spider was at ease to let the little spider pick the treasure. After all, it belonged to the Spider clan. There was no need for the Fire Lion clan to stop and rob it. It just didn't expect that the little spider had less experience. It thought that finding one more treasure was a good thing. The heaven-rank spider knew that it was in the wrong for this matter, but it really couldn't say anything. It could only brace itself and command its clansmen to retreat quickly. The inescapable net was given to Lin Yi. They couldn't do anything to the Fire Lion clan now, so they could only avoid it. Fortunately, the Spider clan was quite united. Those spiders that weren't injured used their silk to pull the injured spiders to escape. Roar! The Fire Lion had no intention of letting them go. It continued to spit out flames, wanting to exterminate the Spider clan. It was rare for someone to kill their way into someone else's territory for thousands of years. After all, there weren't any benefits. Whether it was the fire lion race or the spider race, no one would be so bored as to harass others. If they had the energy, they might as well compete with those public treasures when they were ripe. In fact, going to other people's lair to fight would not bring them much benefits. It was just that the fire lion was really angry today. 2 hours after the fire attribute treasure was picked, it lost its original effect. So even if it was found, it would be useless. This was also the reason why it killed as soon as it came. It promised its benefactor and now it couldn't do it. How could it not be angry? Chapter 2282. It was also a heaven rank beast, but the other side was also one. It couldn't use rank to suppress the other side, so it could only quickly think of a way. But more and more spiders were being burned by the flame breaths, giving the heaven rank spider a huge headache. Without the inescapable net, the spider clan definitely wasn't the fire lion clan's opponent. If it kept burning, the spider clan would be exterminated today. It was really the right time. Normally, the spider clan wouldn't be forced into a dead end. As long as there was an enemy attack, they would all hide in the cave and everything would be fine. After all, there was an ancient restriction at the entrance of the cave that the fire lion clan couldn't break. As for the spiders that went out to pick spirit herbs, they all carried inescapable nets. If the situation wasn't right, they would use the nets to trap the fire lions and escape with the treasures. Naturally, there were also times when they failed. After all, making inescapable nets wasn't easy. Not only did they need a few spiders to weave them, but they also needed some special spider clan treasures. Thus, without the inescapable net, they could only try their luck. It was very likely that they would be hit by a flame breath or a flowing fire god bullet, and then be robbed of the treasures. But regardless of which side suffered a loss, there wouldn't be any danger to their lives. But today's situation was completely different. The Fire Lion clan wanted to exterminate them. Wait a minute. The Heaven Rank Spider wanted to stop the Fire Lion and tell it about Lin. After all, he was their mutual benefactor, so it might be possible for the Fire Lion clan to be magnanimous. But the Heaven Rank Spider's words didn't have any effect. The large flame lion simply ignored it and kept breathing flames. As for the lion cub and the lioness, they only used their claws to attack the spiders. It looked like there was no way out. This place was a cliff platform. The area of the platform wasn't large, and behind the platform was a cave. Inside the cave was a transmission array left behind by the Heaven Rank Spider's master. Aside from the array, there was no other way out of the cave. But the Heaven Rank Spider had no other choice but to lead his clansmen to retreat further and further until they were all concentrated in the cave. Isn't this a turtle in a jar? If the Great Fire Lion really blocked the entrance of the cave, then it would be over. As long as it continued to spit flames, then the spider race in this cave would not be able to survive today. What to do? The Heaven Rank Spider was doing its best to think of a way. It looked like the big flame lion was truly angry, or else it wouldn't be so overbearing. It was just that the Heaven Rank Spider couldn't understand. Didn't they just touch one of their exclusive elixirs? It's reasonable to say that it was very easy for the Great Flame Lion to compensate them. He just needed to burn some spider people and then he could ask for some other elixirs as compensation. This was a profitable business. But what was going on today? From the looks of it, the Great Fire Lion family did not seem to be here to scare them. They really wanted to kill them all. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to be so forceful, leaving no leeway at all. The Heaven Rank Spider inwardly complained. The spider race wasn't good at attacking, and even the defensive inescapable net was no longer in its hands. It was truly despairing. Great Fire Lion, wait a minute. Didn't I just pluck a fire attribute treasure? Is there a need to do this? The Heaven Rank Spider shouted, I can compensate you. Hey, so it was really you who plucked it? Then there's no need to talk so much nonsense. If I don't destroy your entire spider race today, I swear I won't rest. The Great Fire Lion roared as it rushed towards the cave. The Heaven Rank Spider was speechless. This Great Fire Lion simply didn't want to discuss conditions with you and directly interrupted you. You don't even want compensation? Feeling helpless, the Heaven Rank Spider's gaze suddenly fell on the teleportation array inside the cave. Although it knew how to open this array, It had never thought of opening it. Because spirit beasts and human cultivators both cultivated, but their cultivation methods were different. It was hard to say whether the future ranks above the heaven rank would be the same. Thus, the heaven rank spider didn't want to go to the heaven rank island. It was a problem for spirit beasts to adapt there. Moreover, if it left, what would happen to the spider race? How could they be a match for the Fire Lion clan? But if it left with its clansmen, wouldn't there be a problem when the entire spider race reached the other side? The teleportation array could only be used by cultivators at the heaven rank or above. Although the physique of spirit beasts was a bit more special than that of human cultivators, it was hard to say whether ordinary spirit beasts could bear the energy of the teleportation array. In summary, the heaven rank spider had never thought of opening the teleportation array on its own. Otherwise, it wouldn't have told Lin Yi about it. But now, it was a life and death moment for the spider race. Even if the Great Fire Lion was lenient and didn't burn the spider race to death, just the burns would be a huge blow to the spider race's vitality. At that time, due to the scarcity of cultivation resources, the spider race would inevitably decline. They wouldn't be able to fight against the Fire Lion clan for at least a few hundred years. Thus, the heaven rank spider clenched its teeth. Rather than resisting, it would be better to take the risk and let the entire race escape. Perhaps once the array was activated, there would be new opportunities for him to come across, but doing so would be a bit unfair to Lin Yi's benefactor. It had already promised him, but it hadn't expected that the situation would change so quickly. The spider race would have to use the teleportation array on its own. Seeing that exquisite array emitting a faint blue light, the heaven rank spider inwardly sighed. If there's an opportunity in the future, I'll repay Lin Yi's kindness. Thinking of this, the heaven rank spider quickly activated the teleportation array according to its memory and then ordered the other spiders. Everyone, follow me. Quickly pass. Just as the heaven rank spider finished speaking, a multicolored ring of light appeared in front of it. When the heaven rank spider saw this scene, it clenched its teeth and led the small spider into the ring of light, disappearing on the spot. As for the other spiders, although they felt strange as to why a halo had suddenly appeared in the cave, they unhesitantly entered the halo under the heaven rank spider's command. But what the heaven rank spider hadn't expected was that the Fire Lion clan actually followed after them after seeing them escape into the halo. Chapter 2283. Their Fire Lion clan had dispatched 3 fire lions in order to frustrate the spirit of the spider clan. They couldn't refine the Firestream godly bullets without that fire treasure. How could the Fire Lion clan not be angry? After everyone had entered, the halo slowly disappeared after a few minutes. The entire cave returned to its previous darkness. There was no longer a trace of life, and it became incomparably quiet. After the halo completely disappeared, it was as if no one had ever been there. Apart from some traces of battle, there was nothing else. As for the teleportation array, it had originally been emitting a strange blue radiance. But now, it had already become dim and no different from an ordinary pile of rocks. This was what had happened that night, and it was also the reason why Lin and Sun Jingyi didn't find it strange when they arrived at the cave and saw the dim array. After all, the array had been activated for the last time. After that, it was no different from an ordinary pile of rocks, so Lin Yi naturally couldn't see any clues. And what the Lightning Pig said was that the Fire Lion clan was no longer in the Wulong Haut mountain range. This was true, because they had all disappeared, and no one knew where they had gone. Without the help of the Fire Lion clan and the Heaven Rank Spider, Lin Yi could only rely on himself. According to the Heaven Rank Spider, going down the mountain from another direction would be even more dangerous. It would be better to go down the mountain the normal way. Although it would be a bit dangerous, he should be able to find another way. If they kept going forward, they would reach the lower range of the Wulong Haut mountain range. Once they got close to the lower range, the danger would increase a lot. Although there were different adventurers in the lower range, it was hard to guarantee that there would be people from the Tagonlong family. Jingyi, put on the Thousand Silk Mask. Lin Yi thought for a bit before saying, if we see anyone suspicious, we'll split up. You go down the mountain first, and I'll look for an opportunity to go down the mountain. Your appearance has changed, so if you're careful, you should be able to feint. But just in case, leave 2 inescapable nets. But inescapable net 1 is enough for me. Why don't you leave 2? Sun Jingyi said hesitantly. No, I'm fine. If I'm in danger, 1 card is enough. If 1 isn't enough, 2 cards won't be of much use, Linny said. Then all right. Sun Jingyi hesitated for a moment before nodding. The 2 of them walked through the middle of the mountain range and walked towards the lower part of the mountain range. At the lower part of the mountain range, the jungle was obviously much denser. Lin Yi deliberately avoided several adventurer teams that came here to gather herbs or to gain experience. Who knew if there were people of the Tagan family among them? Although Lin Yi could see through the strength of those adventurers, it was always better to be careful. However, sometimes, what you want to hide from will happen. Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi didn't walk far before they heard a cry for help. Lin Yi frowned and looked into the distance. He saw a team of adventurers fighting a white tiger. Blood was everywhere, but it wasn't the tiger's blood, but the adventurer's blood. That tiger wasn't a spirit beast, and it hadn't stepped into the golden rank. It didn't even have half of the golden rank strength. It was only because it was influenced by the abundant spiritual energy of heaven and earth that it possessed some of the characteristics of a spirit beast. From what Lin Yi saw, its fighting strength was about the same as the lion in the zoo. However, the adventurer's strength was a bit weak. They didn't even have a cultivator, and none of them had stepped into the golden rank. There was only a seemingly more powerful external cultivator that was fighting the tiger inextricably. Lin Yi shook his head. They dared to come up the mountain with this kind of strength? However, thinking about it, there were many elixirs on the Wulong Haut Mountains. Even if it was in the lower range, the elixirs collected were also priceless. There was no lack of greedy adventurers who formed teams to come up to make a fortune. If they were lucky, the elixirs collected could be exchanged for a few years without a problem. Therefore, this high-risk but high-return industry also gave birth to many adventurers who wanted to try their luck. The members of the adventurers saw Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi from afar and immediately shouted for help. The adventurer teams in the Wulong Haut Mountain range rarely crossed paths. Even if they met, they would pass each other without saying a word. After all, this involved a conflict of interest. Everyone was just searching for elixirs, and due to the few families and gangs at the foot of the mountain, there would basically be no cases of killing and robbing each other of their treasures. Of course, if an adventurers encountered a beast attack, the other adventurers generally wouldn't help. After all, these adventurers who were collecting elixirs at the foot of the mountain were very low level. They couldn't even protect themselves, so why would they care about others? There were very few golden rank masters among them, and generally, golden rank masters wouldn't covet the money of these elixirs. However, when Lin Yi saw the situation in front of him, his heart moved slightly, and he came up with a plan. The adventurers in front of him just happened to have one person dead, and it was a female. She was bitten to death by the tiger. If Lin Yi helped and killed the tiger, then let these people bring Sun Jingyi down the mountain, it would be a very good choice. The families and sects at the foot of the mountain might not be so thorough in their investigation. Besides, even if they were thorough, Sun Jingyi's appearance had changed. Even if they remembered how many men and women there were in this adventurer team, they couldn't possibly remember everyone's appearance. Of course, the reason why Lin Yi chose this adventurer team, other than coincidence, was because this adventurer team's strength was very weak. They shouldn't be spies of the Tagan family. If they were the Tagan family's people, there was no need to put on a trick of injuring themselves to gain the confidence of others. After all, they couldn't possibly expect that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi would pass by here at this time. And their situation should be that they were really attacked, and their identity was also that they were real adventurers. Jingyi, I'll help these people solve the problem later, and you go down the mountain with them. I'll go down the mountain alone. Lin Yi quickly told Sun Jingyi, after you go down the mountain, find a way to return to the previous border town. Don't stay in Ruilita town. Okay, I got it. Sun Jingyi nodded. Now wasn't the time to care about the gains and losses. Although she was worried about Lin Yi, this was also the most appropriate way. Otherwise, if she stayed by Lin Yi's side, Lin Yi would also be afraid and have to take care of her. Chapter 2284. After landing on the ground, the tiger's body twitched and could no longer move. Obviously, it was as dead as it could be. Ah! Lin Yi's sudden appearance surprised all the adventurers. They were both surprised and happy. The tiger died just like that? They called for Lin Yi to help, but it was just a desperate attempt. They didn't think that Lin Yi would really come to help. Moreover, it was so easy for him to kill the tiger that everyone was trembling with fear. This was simply too amazing. After a while, the adventurers cheered. The injured adventurer who fought with the tiger said to Lin Yi politely, "Thank you for saving us, Senior. I'm Biao, the leader of this adventurer team. Senior, you must be a practitioner, right? I just stepped into the golden class not long ago." Lin Yi said faintly. He didn't reveal his strength, only the early phase of the golden class. Of course, the strength of the early phase of the golden class was more than enough to kill the tiger. No wonder. Biao's eyes showed a look of admiration. You're a practitioner indeed. Only a practitioner can solve a problem so decisively. Senior, thank you so much. It's nothing. Lin Yi waved his hand and said faintly, "Aren't you going to bandage the wound on your arm?" "Bandage, I'll do it now." Biao smiled bitterly. "I forgot about the pain. I only remembered now that you mentioned it." As he said that, Biao took out a bottle of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine from another adventurer's bag and poured it on the wound. He then bandaged it with gauze. Lin Yi noticed that the Miracle Dr. Guan injury medicine in Biao's hand was the special edition. He couldn't help but smile. It seemed that although these adventurers lived on the edge of a knife, they had plenty of money in their pockets. The medicine they bought was the best edition. In fact, for people like them, there was no need to use the expensive hardcover version of the injury medicine. The ordinary version was enough. This was because these people did not need to leave no scars like women. Besides, if it was a new injury, there was no need to use the hardcover version of the injury medicine. The ordinary injury medicine would not leave any scars. Of course, Lin didn't say this out loud. After all, the money was in Lin Yi's pocket. "You guys are really unlucky. You actually met a tiger?" Lin Yi said without batting an eyelid. "Yeah, we're unlucky. We're not local adventurers. We came from somewhere else. We're not familiar with the terrain here. Sigh, it's really unlucky. We came to gather herbs this year, but we met a tiger not long after. We even lost a team member. What a bad start." Biao, on the other hand, was very eager to talk to Lin. After all, in the eyes of these adventurers, practitioners were unreachable existences. Even early-phase golden class masters were high above them. Usually, when they met them, they would raise their heads high and ignore them. It was rare for Lin Yi, a practitioner, to say a few words to them. "If that's the case, what do you guys plan to do?" Lin Yi nodded. He was happy. These people weren't local cultivators, so they were probably his compatriots. As long as they didn't have anything to do with Ruilei de town, Lin Yi was relieved. "What else can we do? Let's go down the mountain. I'm injured. The rest of us are also exhausted. If we stay here, we won't be able to deal with stronger beasts." Biao said with a bitter smile. "If that's the case, that's perfect. I still have other things to do, but this friend of mine is going down the mountain. Let her go with you guys, we can look after each other." Lin Yi pretended to be deep in thought. "Of course." Biao agreed without thinking. "But we have to bury our partner first. Then we can go down the mountain. Let me help you guys." Lin Yi was really afraid that they would carry a corpse down the mountain. If that happened, the number of people wouldn't be right. Usually, the families at the foot of the mountain wouldn't be strict. But now that the Tagan family was watching, even if it was an adventurer team sent by other families, they would definitely check it secretly. "That's great. Thank you so much," Biao said gratefully. For Lin Yi, digging a hole on the ground to bury a corpse was a piece of cake. Lin Yi casually used a branch and dug a hole. Biao and the other adventurer team members buried their partner's corpse. For adventurers like them, who lived everywhere, there was no such thing as returning to their roots. They would be buried where they died. After doing this, Lin Yi said goodbye to Biao and Sun Jingyi. As for the unnecessary words, Lin Yi didn't say it to him. The more he said, the more likely there would be problems. It was better not to say it. Otherwise, Biao would have a psychological burden and give himself away. After sending off Sun Jingyi and Biao's group, Lin Yi found a place to hide temporarily and made plans. Lin Yi didn't intend to go down the mountain so early. At the very least, he would wait until Sun Jingyi safely left the Wulongheot mountain range. It would be best if he returned to the border town before Lin Yi went down the mountain. That way, Lin Yi wouldn't have any scruples. Even if he encountered a master, he could throw a trap and then run away. It shouldn't be a big problem. And so, Lin Yi sat on the ground and started channeling the art of dragon mastery, practicing. Biao brought Sun Jingyi and the members of the adventurer team down the mountain. However, they didn't expect that there would be sentries set up by a few big families and gangs at the exit of the mountain range. They were conducting strict checks on adventurers going up and down the mountain. Biao wasn't stupid. On the contrary, he was the leader of an adventurer team, so he was naturally smarter. At this time, when he saw this situation, he subconsciously turned his head to look at Sun Jingyi. The appearance of Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi was too strange. It was also a little strange that Lin Yi, as a cultivator, helped them, a group of ordinary adventurers. Although they were in danger, why did Lin Yi act so righteously? And his attitude was very kind? Moreover, the most important thing was that Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi actually acted separately. He let Sun Jingyi follow his group down the mountain, but he himself didn't go down the mountain? Of course, if the checkpoint at the exit of the mountain range had not been set up, Biao wouldn't have thought of so many things on a deeper level. But now that he saw the people who were doing the checkpoint and thought of the strange things that happened before, Biao understood a little. Chapter 2285. Thinking of this, Biao slowed down his pace and quietly came to Sun Jingyi's side. He lowered his voice and asked, "Are the people at the exit looking for you?" Sun Jingyi was shocked. She didn't expect Biao to discover this. But now, there was no need for Sun Jingyi to hide it. Since Biao had guessed it, it was useless for Sun Jingyi to hide it. She could only say, "Yes, but they don't know me." "That's good." Biao nodded and quickened his pace. He didn't say anything more. Since the people at the bottom didn't know Sun Jingyi, things would be easy. As long as Biao led his team members to accept the interrogation step by step and then go down the mountain, it would be fine. He wasn't prepared to betray Sun Jingyi. Firstly, Sun Jingyi's friend, Lin Yi, was their savior. Although Biao wasn't a gentleman, he wasn't a villain either. He wasn't willing to repay kindness with enmity. Secondly, if Sun Jingyi were to be recognized by the interrogators, wouldn't the whole team be in a good place? It was already good enough that Biao wasn't accused of harboring the enemy. At that time, the entire adventure team would be in trouble, so Biao wouldn't do such a stupid thing. The interrogation below seems to be very strict. Don't talk nonsense later. I'll handle it, Biao said to the others in the team. The others in the team were obviously very convinced of Biao as the captain. They didn't ask much and agreed directly. Biao nodded and led a team of people to the exit of the mountain after the team in front of him accepted the interrogation and left. "What's your name? Which family arranged for you to go up the mountain? Why did you go up the mountain?" The one who spoke was Lotzi. He knew Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi. Although he didn't see these two people in the team, he still asked with a cautious attitude. "My name is Biao. I'm an adventurer from the border town. I paid through the Fire Wolf gang to go up the mountain to collect herbs," Biao said respectfully. "Oh." Razi nodded and turned to look at one of the leaders of the Fire Wolf gang. Biao, a total of 8 people went up the mountain. 6 men and 2 women. The numbers match up. Let's go. The leader of the Fire Wolf gang looked at the information he had registered before and waved at Biao. "Okay." Biao was relieved and nodded. Then he said to his team, "Let's go." However, just as Biao was about to leave with his men, a voice suddenly rang out, "Wait." Biao's heart sank, but he still maintained his composure and turned his head around. He smiled and said, "May I ask, what's the matter?" It was Laz who'd spoken up, and he looked at Jingyi with a flash of surprise in his eyes. Biao, your teammate's not bad, huh? How about spending a few days with our young master Tagan?" Spirit pills and miraculous medicines can't do without you. Although Sun Jingyi had become a different person after wearing the Thousand Silk Mask, she was still very beautiful after wearing the mask, perhaps because she was already beautiful. Laz knew that Taganlong was in a bad mood these 2 days, so he wanted to find a pretty girl for him to play with. Biao's face changed slightly. He didn't expect that there would be new problems when he was about to leave. He didn't know how to answer and was very anxious. Laz, are you going to break the rules? The leader of the Fire Wolf gang looked at Laz coldly. The Tagan family and the Red Conches were on good terms, and the Red Conches and the Fire Wolf gang were enemies. Naturally, they wouldn't give the Tagan family any face. Biao and his men went up the mountain using the Fire Wolf gang's route. If anything happened, who would go up the mountain using the Fire Wolf gang's route? The Oolong Haut mountain range was an important way for the few forces in Ruilita town to earn money. The leader of the Fire Wolf gang naturally wouldn't let Laz take Biao's men away. Let's go. La Zi hesitated for a moment and waved his hand, indicating that Biao could bring his men away. Under such circumstances, he didn't want to become enemies with the Fire Wolf gang over such a small matter. It wasn't an important matter anyway. If they were to fight with the Fire Wolf gang, it wouldn't be appropriate to delay the important matter. Thank you. Biao cupped his fist at the leader of the Fire Wolf gang and breathed out in relief. If Sun Jingyi was really taken away, things wouldn't be fun. Biao's current behavior didn't raise any suspicions. After all, Laz was trying to force his teammates to stay, so it was reasonable for Biao to let out a sigh of relief. What Laz didn't expect was that he almost caught a big fish, but because of the Fire Wolf gang his good fortune was ruined. If Zhang Wen knew that the leader of the Fire Wolf gang had done something like this, he would definitely be so angry that he would write a letter to the leader of the Fire Wolf gang to punish him. Pho! Biao let out a long sigh of relief after leaving the Oolong Haut mountain range and coming to a place with fewer people. He looked at Sun Jingyi with some hope in his eyes, but he didn't say it out loud. He only said to his teammates, "It seems like something happened in Ruilita town. We shouldn't stay here for long. Let's go back to the border town today." "No problem, we'll listen to you, Captain." His teammates nodded without hesitation. "My savior, where are you going? Are you going back to the border town with us, or?" Biao called Sun Jingyi his savior. Although she didn't do anything because of Lin Yi, he didn't call her his savior for nothing. "I'll go back to the border town with you guys." Sun Jingyi didn't dare to stay here for long after escaping from death. She and Lin Yi had agreed to go back to the border town first and wait for Lin Yi there. As an adventurer who often traveled between Ruilita town and the border town, Biao naturally had his own way of crossing the border. He didn't need to contact a middleman like a local. Since they had decided to leave, they didn't delay any longer. They brought Sun Jingyi with them and prepared to cross the border through their own way. As for Lin Yi, although he was worried about Sun Jingyi's safety on the Oolong mountain range, he didn't act rashly. Instead, he quietly trained on the mountain. He had to make sure that Sun Jingyi left Ruilita town before he could go down the mountain. Otherwise, he might implicate Sun Jingyi. Of course, Lin Yi naturally didn't know that Sun Jingyi followed Biao and the others back to the border town on the first day they left the mountain. So, Lin Yi stayed on the mountain for another 2 days before he was ready to go down. Chapter 2286. Of course, Lin Yi was only using this chi bomb as a precaution. He would only release it when he had no other choice. If there were too many people at the foot of the mountain, Lin Yi would rather waste an inescapable net than rashly use the chi bomb. This trick was too obvious. If someone didn't die and continued to investigate according to this trick, it was very likely that they would find out that the person who used this trick was Lin Yi. This could probably be found out as long as they inquired. However, if they only knew the appearance, it wouldn't be easy to find someone. Lin Yi guessed that this Tagan family's information channel wasn't particularly well informed. Otherwise, if they could find someone based on appearance, Faubert and Grandma Sun would have been found long ago. They wouldn't have to wait until now. Of course, even if Lin Yi used the chi bomb, Tagan family might not be able to find out that it was Lin Yi. It was just that this trick was too obvious. There were too many people who knew about it. At least, many people from the hidden aristocratic families knew about it. Lin Yi didn't want to take the risk. Moreover, the Tagan family's backing was rather sinister. Lin Yi also didn't want to expose his big killer too early. Sure enough, when Lin Yi was about to reach the mountain's exit, he saw an adventure team being blocked at the exit to be interrogated. It was much stricter than when Lin Yi and the others went up the mountain. Lin Yi raised his head and glanced at those people one by one. He saw La Zi. It seemed that the Tagan family had really decided to block him and Sun Jingyi here. He didn't know if Sun Jingyi had safely descended the mountain. However, when Lin Yi's gaze swept past La Zi, it finally landed on a middle-aged man wearing a bagua robe not far away. Lin Yi was simply too familiar with this outfit. The Tagan family's great protector was also dressed like this. Moreover, Lin Yi could clearly see this person's strength at a glance. It was the peak of Heaven Rank initial stage. Another Heaven Rank expert wearing a bagua robe came? Lin Yi frowned. It seemed that the Tagan family had some goods. One Heaven Rank expert died, and another one appeared? Seeing this Heaven Rank expert, Lin Yi didn't go down the mountain for the time being. Instead, he hid his strength and calmly hid behind a thicket. He wasn't far from the mountain range's exit, but he was well aware of the situation at the exit. In fact, with Old 12's perception, he could completely sense Lin Yi's presence. Lin Yi was already within Old 12's perception range. However, the 12th brother didn't have Lin Yi's jade space. It was impossible for him to have an inexhaustible supply of true qi. Perception consumed a lot of energy. It was fine to perceive for a while, but if it was to be used up all the time, even a peak late-stage heaven stage master would faint from exhaustion. Moreover, the 12th brother's main purpose was to seal the mountain range's exit and block Lin Yi and Sun Jingyi here. There was no need for him to perceive the situation on the mountain range. Old 6 was responsible for searching the mountain range. What was the point of him trying to perceive? This also made it convenient for Lin Yi. He didn't need to perceive Lin Yi. Lin Yi simply entered the jade space to cultivate and perceive them. During the day, the 12th brother didn't talk to anyone. But at night, Tagan Long secretly came to the temporary tent that the Tagan family had set up at the bottom of the Woolenhate mountain range. There was no news for a few days. Tagan Long was a little anxious, so he secretly came here. The 12th brother saw the arrival of Tagan Long and frowned slightly. "Why are you here? Didn't I tell you to keep a low profile at home for a while and not come out?" "I'm anxious too. Did you catch Zhang Naipeo and those two?" Tagan Long asked carefully. "What's there to be anxious about?" The 12th brother said, "These are troubled times, it's very dangerous. Those two are fine, but there's an old lunatic at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Rank who seems to be with them. Your master's great protector died at his hands, and you still dare to come out?" The 12th brother warned with a serious expression. They have someone supporting them? Tagan Long couldn't help but click his tongue. Sky Class Peak Late Phase? That's right. And the Sky Class Peak Late Phase crazy old man has already left the mountain. I didn't stop him. I can't tell where he is right now. If you go out rashly and he sees you, be careful not to lose your life. The 12th brother nodded and scolded. So you're saying that the Sky Class Peak Late Phase crazy old man isn't with those two? Tagan Long immediately understood the crux of the matter. That's right. That old man left, but those two haven't come down yet. Your 6th master has already gone up the mountain to find them. I've set up a blockade at the exit. The 12th brother said. If there's nothing else, quickly go back and hide. If the Sky Class Peak Late Phase crazy old man comes, I won't be able to protect you. He's too capable and has the power to split mountains and seas. This? Alright, but those two people had 2 spirit beast essence cores on them. 12th Martial Uncle, you must think of a way to get them for me. Tagan Long had actually been eyeing the 2 spirit beast essence cores this time. One had to know that this thing was very rare. Even his sect, that place, didn't have any in stock. They did have ancient spirit beasts, but they couldn't just kill them and take out their inner cores, right? Tagan Long believed that if he dared to make such a request, his sect would kill him first. So you're thinking about the 2 spirit beast essence inner cores. The 12th brother nodded and understood Tagan Long's meaning. Don't worry. I'll give it to you once you get it. Although the spirit beast essence inner core was a good thing, It couldn't compare to Tagan Long's importance. Having such a good thing for him to protect himself would make his sect less worried. "Thank you, 12th Master." Tagan Long was overjoyed and promptly said, "Okay, you can go back now. Hide at home and don't come out." The 12th brother waved his hand. "Yes, 12th Master. I'll take my leave then." Tagan Long bowed and left the tent before disappearing into the night with his followers. And their conversation reached Lin Yi's ears, which made Lin Yi sigh in relief. The heaven rank freak was fine and had escaped. It looked like the 12th brother didn't dare to stop him and just watched as the heaven rank freak ran away. This situation made Lin Yi feel a bit funny. Although the heaven rank freak had the power of a peak late phase heaven rank powerhouse, he still wasn't a match for an early phase heaven rank powerhouse. And the 12th brother was a peak early phase heaven rank powerhouse, yet he didn't dare to make a move. What would he think if he knew the truth? Chapter 2287. This was exactly what Lin Yi wanted. It seemed that the death of the Great Protector was blamed on the heaven-ranked weirdo. Lin Yi didn't have to worry about them suspecting his chi bomb. They would also think that the crater at the top of the mountain was caused by the heaven-ranked weirdo and had nothing to do with Lin Yi, a small earth-ranked middle phase. But this way, the chi bomb Lin Yi had compressed couldn't be exposed. Although it could kill the 12th brother, Lin Yi would also be exposed. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that the Tagan family was so capable. From what they said, there was another master on the mountain. And the 12th brother was called the 12th uncle, and the one on the mountain was called the 6th uncle. This meant that the one on the mountain was much stronger. Especially the number 12 made Lin Yi click his tongue. What kind of family was this? Even more powerful than the ancient sects, with at least 12 heaven-ranked masters? How many heaven-ranked masters did the Ice Palace have? Who would have thought that in this remote Ray-Light town, there was such a family? This shocked Lin Yi, and he couldn't help but ponder. His level was still too low. Only by standing high could he see further. He was only a small Earth-ranked middle phase. Once upon a time, Earth-ranked masters were existences that Lin Yi looked up to. But now, it really wasn't much. It was just that things were often like this. With a different reference, the conclusion would naturally be different. Shaking his head, he temporarily put these thoughts aside. What made Lin Yi happy was that it seemed that Sun Jingyi had successfully escaped from these people's interrogation. From what the 12th brother said, he thought that Sun Jingyi was the same as him, still on the mountain. This also meant that Sun Jingyi had safely left, and Lin Yi didn't have to worry anymore. Sun Jingyi had already been gone for 3 days. This was enough time to leave Ray-Light Town and go to the border town. Moreover, Tagan Long and Old 12 did not mention anything about Sun Jingyi being captured, which meant that Sun Jingyi was really fine. However, what puzzled Lin Yi was that Tagan Dragon seemed to value the 2 spirit beast essence Nadens very much. Lin Yi initially thought that this kind of thing was very common, but now it seemed that it was not the case. Even the Tagan family, which was rich in heaven rank experts, valued it so much. It was probably something very important, but what was the use of this thing? Lin Yi wanted to get more information, but Tagandragon didn't say much. He just mentioned it and left. It's time. Lin Yi stood up. At this time, there shouldn't be any adventurer teams going down the mountain. Moreover, the people at the exit of the mountain range had relaxed, so it was a good time for Lin Yi to escape. Of course, Lin Yi didn't expect to be able to hide from Old 12. It wasn't realistic to silently slip away from a heaven rank expert. He could only leave quickly and then lead him to another place to see if he should use the inescapable net or the true energy bomb. If there were many people, then he would use the inescapable net. If there were no people, then he would use the true energy bomb. I'll leave first, and then you take advantage of the chaos to slip away from the side. Follow me nearby, and meet up with me when the danger is over. Lin Yi told the Skybolt pig next to him. GG. The Skybolt pig nodded to show that he understood. After making a decision, Lin didn't delay and directly jumped down the mountain range. In the darkness, Lin Yi's figure quickly swept past the checkpoint at the exit of the mountain range and flew towards a place not far away. A cold snort came from the Tagan family's temporary tent. The moment Lin Yi came down from the mountain, Old 12 felt it. He knew that the person he was waiting for had arrived. He jumped out and chased in the direction where Lin Yi escaped. Behind him, the second and third protectors also followed Old 12 and flew in the direction of Lin. Lin Yi looked at the 5 people behind him and secretly cursed his bad luck. Among these 3 people, although only one was a heaven rank expert and the other 2 were only earth rank experts, Lin Yi wasn't sure that he could kill all 3 of them at once. After all, these 3 people were one in front, one in the middle and one in the back. The distance between them was very wide, and they even had the intention to outflank him. This made Lin Yi very depressed. If one of them couldn't be killed, then Lin Yi's strength would be exposed, so Lin Yi didn't dare to act rashly. It seemed that he could only use the inescapable net. He hoped that this net could cover 2 people. If it only covered 1 person, Lin Yi really didn't have the confidence to escape. Feeling that the 3 people behind him were getting closer and closer, Lin Yi directly led them to a back alley, a place where it was easy to escape after using the inescapable net. Then he suddenly threw out his hand and shouted, "Inescapable net." That inescapable net was aimed in Old 12's direction. That person was Lin Yi's archenemy, so it should be able to cover him. Sure enough, Old 12 was startled when he saw the net falling from the sky. He didn't know what it was and subconsciously wanted to dodge, but how could he dodge the inescapable net? It wasn't just him, even the second protector, who was very close to him, was implicated. After the inescapable net fell, it directly covered Old 12 and the second protector, leaving them with no leeway to resist. Lin Yi had experienced this heaven's net firsthand, and he knew how powerful it was. Sky-class masters were nothing in front of this heaven's net. No wonder the Sky-class spider could use this heaven's net to capture even the Sky-class fire lion, but, thinking about the Heaven Stage fire lions and Heaven Stage spiders that disappeared for no reason, Lin Yi's chest felt suffocated, and he couldn't say anything about it. "What is this thing?" Old 12 raised his hand and pulled out a scimitar. This was his weapon. He wanted to use this scimitar to break the inescapable net in front of him. However, he had underestimated the inescapable net. He used the first style of an ordinary martial skill and poured his true chi into the scimitar. However, it was not able to break the inescapable net in the slightest. Instead, it made the inescapable net tighten even more. Originally, the third protector wanted to continue chasing after Lin Yi, but after seeing this strange scene, he had no choice but to stop and help because he didn't know what magic weapon Lin Yi was using. Although he was a member of the Tagan family and knew of the existence of the spider race, he didn't know what magic weapon the spider race used. Chapter 2288. His martial skill struck the inescapable net, but it was as if he was hitting cotton. There was no resistance at all, causing him to waste a lot of energy. Lin Yi had already run far away at this time. Although his divine sense could still sense what was happening behind him, his footsteps didn't stop. If he didn't run away now, then when? Lin Yi was also glad that the third protector didn't chase after him. Otherwise, with the third protector's strength at the peak late stage of Earth rank, it would be troublesome for Lin Yi to kill him. Lin Yi would have to lead him to a more remote place and use the true chi bomb to kill him. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Yi was afraid that these 3 people wouldn't be able to be killed in one blow, he would have definitely thrown the true chi bomb at them while they were trapped in the inescapable net. After turning a corner, Lin Yi slowly turned the true chi bomb in his left hand back into true chi and returned it to his body. He also restrained the true chi fluctuations on his body. At this moment, Lin Yi was no different from a normal person. After walking a few more streets, Lin Yi arrived at a dark hiding place. He slightly stretched out his hand and waved. The Skybolt pig very obediently ran to Lin Yi's side. This little guy was very clever. Even if he lost Lin Yi, he could rely on Lin Yi's Firestream God Bomb and Spirit Beast Essence Niden to find Lin Yi. Phew! Lin Yi let out a long sigh. Things were going very smoothly. The Heaven Stage spider really didn't lie to him. Even Heaven Stage experts couldn't escape from this inescapable net. It might be very difficult to get rid of it. Lin Yi went down the mountain. At the exit of the Wulong Haut mountain range, the remaining people of the Tagan family were also anxious. The 12th protector, the 2nd protector, and the 3rd protector all went to chase after Lin. Although there were still 2 Earth Stage experts here, Their strength was relatively low. On one hand, they couldn't help. On the other hand, it was because Lin Yi went down the mountain, but Sun Jingyi didn't. They still had to block Sun Jingyi here to prevent Sun Jingyi from taking the opportunity to go down the mountain. La Zi, go back to the Tagan family immediately and inform young Master Tagan and the Patriarch. Tell them what happened here. The one who spoke was the fourth protector, and he instructed La Zi. La Zi quickly nodded and quickly boarded a Hummer. Then he drove it towards the direction of the Tagan family. However, La Zi's car didn't go far before it was targeted by someone. The person who targeted La Zi was naturally Lin Yi. La Zi didn't expect that Lin Yi would actually return to the vicinity of the Wulong Haut mountain range. The most dangerous place was the safest place. After the 12th protector, the 2nd protector, and the 3rd protector broke free from the inescapable net, the first thing they would do would probably be to search for him in the whole town. Therefore, Lin Yi simply took a detour and returned to the vicinity of the Wulong Haut mountain range. He was prepared to randomly grab someone to ask for the specific address of the Tagan family. Now that the experts of the Tagan family were all out, the interior must be very empty. At this time, if Lin Yi went to cause a ruckus and conveniently took care of Tagan Long, Lin Yi would naturally be very happy. He had long hated Tagan Long. If he could conveniently get rid of him before he left, why not? Lin Yi could also see that this Tagan Long seemed to be very important. Even the 12th brother was very concerned about him. If he died, the Tagan family would probably be in big trouble. Of course, although the Tagan family was very powerful and Lin Yi could see that they had at least 12 heaven rank experts, these experts were definitely not in Ruilei town. If they were, the 12th brother wouldn't have told Tagan Long like that, and he wouldn't have been so careful. With 12 heaven rank experts, any kind of enemy could be dealt with. Therefore, it could be foreseen that the interior of the Tagan family was empty. It was just the right time for Lin Yi to cause a ruckus. Originally, Lin Yi was going to casually grab a member of the Tagan family or any other family to ask for the address of the Tagan family. However, after returning to the Wulong Haut mountain range, he happened to see such a scene. Reizi actually wanted to return to the Tagan family, so Lin Yi could just follow him. The Tagan family was located in an independent manor in Ruilei town. The manor occupied a very large area. It was surrounded by fertile fields and forests. There were no houses on the surrounding roads because this was the private territory of the Tagan family. Of course, if a family didn't have a certain level of strength, it would be impossible to live in such a place. There were no signs of human habitation in the surroundings. What if they were attacked by bad people? Only a family like the Tagan family that had countless practitioners would dare to do so. However, this place just happened to be a good place for Lin Yi. It was a good place to kill and rob without worrying about being seen by anyone. Reizi drove the Hummer on the road in front of the manor. However, a person suddenly appeared on the originally empty road. This situation made Reizi jump in fright. He almost thought that he had seen a ghost. After all, in the middle of the night, a person suddenly appeared in the middle of an originally empty road. Anyone would feel terrified. Fortunately, Reizi could be considered a small leader of the Adventurers Guild. He was also a practitioner. At this time, when he saw someone come out, the horror only lasted for a moment. The next moment, he realized that the person who came was not friendly. However, Reizi didn't plan to stop. He stepped on the accelerator and prepared to ram. Since someone was standing in the middle of the road and wanted to stop the car, then it definitely wasn't a good person. Reizi didn't need to be polite at all. He just needed to step on the accelerator and ram over. If Lin Yi was still a golden class, he would naturally be afraid of the car crashing into him. However, Lin Yi was now a practitioner in the middle of Earth class. He had a powerful true chi to protect his body. Even if this car crashed into him, it wouldn't cause any harm to Lin. On the contrary, if Lin Yi threw a punch, he could overturn this speeding car. First form of Frenzy Fist. Lin Yi waited for the moment when Reizi's car drove over and made his move. Just the first form of Frenzy Fist was enough. Reizi was a golden class master. Lin Yi was really afraid that this move would be too heavy and kill him. So this punch was mainly used to send the car flying. Boom! A loud sound. The speeding car suddenly flew into the air and flipped in the sky before landing heavily on the side. The four wheels were already facing the sky, spinning in the air. Lin Yi's punch was just right. Raisy's car didn't crash and die. "Get out, Mr. Raisy." Lin Yi didn't give Raisy any time to recover. He forcefully opened the door and pulled Raisy out from the driver's seat. Chapter 2289. When he saw that the person in front of him was actually Lin Yi, his legs almost gave way and he fell to the ground. "You're Zhang Naipeo?" La Zi looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Why was this guy here to stop him? Wasn't he being chased by the 12th, 2nd, and 3rd protectors? How did he get away? Could it be that the 12th, 2nd, and 3rd protectors were already dead? At the thought, La Zi's face was full of fear. Lin Yi grabbed La Zi's collar and lifted him up like a chicken. With a kick, he kicked La Zi's car into the forest by the roadside. At least in the darkness of the night, one wouldn't be able to see that there was a car in the forest if one wasn't paying attention. Although Lin Yi didn't think that there would be anyone else on this road, nothing was absolute. Lin Yi was also afraid of accidents, so he took care of La Zi's car and hid in the forest with La Zi. He threw La Zi on the ground and stepped on his chest so that he couldn't move. What does a Tagan dragon need an essence core for? La Zi paused. He didn't think that Lin Yi would suddenly ask such a question. He thought that Lin Yi would ask about House Tagan's secrets, but he didn't expect him to ask about the essence core of a spirit beast. Wasn't the leap in his thinking a little too big? Hurry up and say it if you don't want to suffer. Lin Yi didn't have the patience to deal with La Zi. But spirit beast essence cores can be used to make essence necklaces, don't you know that? La Zi was a little doubtful. This wasn't a secret, at least the big families in Rielida knew about it, but no one made it except for House Tagan. Make essence necklaces? What's an essence necklace? What can it be used for? How do you make it? Lin Yi paused. He didn't think that the essence core of a spirit beast could be used like this. Essence necklace? You don't know either? La Zi was a little confused as to why Lin Yi didn't know anything, but he still explained. The essence necklace is a necklace that can increase attack and defense. It has a chance to increase attack and defense. What do you mean by probability? Lin Yi was shocked. There was actually such a thing? This was a good thing. I don't know about that. Larko shook his head. Because it's only a legend. I've never seen it before. It's just what everyone says. Lin Yi nodded. Lotzi didn't look like he was lying. Looking at his eyes, he was already scared out of his wits, so it was unlikely that he was lying. Moreover, from Lotzi's tone, this profound chi necklace didn't seem to be something particularly mysterious and confidential. Many people knew about it, so there was no need for him to hide it. Thus, Lin Yi continued to ask, how do I make this necklace? I don't know about that. I heard that only the legendary blacksmiths can refine it, and they must have a way to refine it. Lazi said, the legendary blacksmiths? Lin Yi coldly snorted. If it's only the legendary blacksmiths, then why is your Tagan family looking for this spirit beast essence Naiden? And you don't hesitate to fight me? Do you think a normal person would fight for an illusory existence that only exists in the legends? Alright, I'll say it. I heard that the Tagan family has a blacksmiths. Although he's only an earth-rank blacksmiths, he just happens to have the way to refine this essence necklace. La Zi told the truth. He had only heard about it. As for whether there's such a blacksmiths, I don't know because I've never seen it before. I'm just a nobody, so I don't know much. Oh, then you can die now. Lin Yi said. Oh, don't, Mr. Zhang. I'm just a nobody. It doesn't matter to you whether I die or not. Please don't kill me. Hearing that Lin Yi wanted to kill him, La Zi was so anxious that he almost cried. I have a 60-year-old mother who's already dead, and an unborn child who's crying piteously for food. Lin Yi was speechless towards La Zi's unique way of begging for mercy. However, this guy was honest and didn't lie. Mr. Zhang, I'm actually just an ordinary practitioner who wants to make a living. I have no other choice in the Tagan family. Please don't kill me, I beg you. Lotzi cried as he begged for mercy with snot and tears. If I don't kill you, what's the use of keeping you alive? Lin Yi faintly asked. Oh right, aren't you interested in that essence necklace? I can take you to the Tagan family and tell you where the family's library is. There's a detailed introduction and refining method of the essence necklace there. You can steal it. La Zi had an idea and said, "You can take me there?" After listening to La Zi's words, Lin Yi was a little interested. To be honest, Lin Yi really wanted to take a look at that essence necklace. "That's right, I have an idea." La Zi heard that Lin Yi seemed to be very interested in that essence necklace, so he quickly nodded as if he had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. "I often go in and out of the Tagan family, so I'm very familiar with the Tagan family. With me leading the way, Mr. Zhang will have fewer detours. If that's the case, let's go." Lin Yi pondered for a moment, then nodded and agreed to La Zi's request. Lin Yi came to the Tagan family mainly to get rid of the Tagan dragon, but after hearing La Zi mention this essence necklace, in Lin Yi's eyes, it was something more attractive than getting rid of the Tagan family. Although this trip to the Wulong Haut mountain range was extremely dangerous, Lin Yi also gained a lot. If he could get the refining method of this essence necklace, it would be a pleasant surprise. "Thank you, Mr. Zhang, for not killing me," La Zi said gratefully. "However, you can be spared from death, but you can't escape punishment." As he spoke, Lin Yi took out silver needles and said to La Zi, "I'm going to seal a few of your acupoints. This way, you won't be able to use your true energy for 2 hours. This is also my punishment for you, to prevent you from betraying me. When I'm applying the needles, don't use your true energy to resist." This? La Zi couldn't refuse, so he could only nod. Compared to death, being unable to use true energy for the time being sealed was already a better outcome. Therefore, without La Zi's resistance, Lin Yi sealed La Zi's acupoints and meridians, so that he couldn't use true energy for 2 hours. Of course, if La Zi's strength was higher, he could use his true energy to break the seal on his acupoints. Chapter 2290. After Lin Yi subdued Reizi, he didn't care about him. Instead, he went to the jungle and brought Reizi's Hummer back to the road. This Hummer was very sturdy, and this Hummer was definitely custom-made by the Tagan family, so it was even more sturdy. Even though it was kicked away by Lin Yi, there was only a slight dent on the exterior. Other than that, there wasn't much damage. It could still be used. "Get in the car, we're going to the Tagan family," Lin Yi ordered Reizi. "Yes, Mr. Zhang." Reizi quickly ran over and got in the car. He started the car and drove towards the direction of the Tagan family. "Go directly to the library later. Find out the refining method of the essence chi necklace first," Lin Yi ordered Reizi. "All right, Mr. Zhang." Reizi quickly nodded. In his eyes, people like Lin Yi shouldn't be provoked if possible. He was a person who was like a thorn. If you went against him, he would dare to kill anyone. At that time, didn't the 5th and 8th protectors become lonely ghosts? The death of the 1st protector was also related to him. Now, even the 12th protector, the 2nd protector, and the 3rd protector couldn't catch up with him. Even under such a heavy encirclement, he was still able to come here to intercept him. Naturally, this power wasn't something that Reizi could contend with. Therefore, Reizi sold out the Tagan family. He planned to run away after finishing this matter today. Anyway, Realita town was a small power that wandered outside of a small country. No matter which country he went to, the Tagan family's hands couldn't reach that far. If he really couldn't do it, he would go to the border town. These years, Reizi was the actual person in charge of the Adventurers Guild that was controlled by the Tagan family. He had also gained a lot of benefits from it. Finding a safe and peaceful place to enjoy life and being a rich man was also a good choice. On the road of martial arts, he knew that he didn't have any great talent, so it was impossible for him to advance. Therefore, it was normal for him to retreat. Lin Yi didn't think that much. He was just using Reizi's familiarity with the Tagan family to make use of him. As for whether Reizi would stay or leave, it had nothing to do with Lin Yi. "Is it okay if I sit in the car?" Lin Yi. "It's fine. The Tagan family is tight on the outside but loose on the inside. All the experts have been sent out. At this time, the family only has an old ancestor who has been in seclusion all year round, Patriarch Tagengo and young Patriarch Taganlong." Reizi had some understanding of the Tagan family. Lin Yi nodded. Even if Old 12 and the others had broken free from the trap, they would never have thought that Lin Yi would turn around and attack them instead of running away. Old 12 would never have thought that Lin Yi would be so daring. 12th brother had activated the heaven rank martial skill 10 times in a row, and was a little exhausted. Only then did he barely manage to destroy the inescapable net. From this, one could see how tough this thing was. The first thing 12th brother did after escaping was not to chase after Lin Yi, because he knew that he definitely wouldn't be able to catch up. He could only search the entire city. However, he wasn't in a hurry. He wanted to first inform Old 6 that Lin Yi had gone down the mountain, but he was alone. There should be another person still on the mountain, so he should search as soon as possible. At this point, 12th brother had already guessed the plan of Lin Yi and the others, which was to go down the mountain one by one. Although he didn't know what benefits there were in doing this, it seemed to be the case. After releasing the flying spirit beasts, 12th brother waved his hand at second protector and third protector. "Let's go. Follow me to search for that Zhang Naipeo. We must catch him today." A heaven rank expert's spiritual perception was very strong. When his divine sense spread out, all the cultivators nearby could be sensed. From 12th brother's point of view, if Lin Yi wanted to escape, he would definitely use his true qi. Moreover, he would always be on guard against an attack, so he would definitely circulate his inner qi. Although Lin Yi might hide in the dark, he could only hide for a while. When the sun rose, all the Tagan family's men would move out and search the entire city. Lin Yi would have nowhere to hide. At this moment, Lin Yi and Shiraz had already arrived at the entrance of the Tagan family's manor. The guards at the entrance glanced at Shiraz's car and Shiraz, who was sitting in the driver's seat. They didn't stop them and directly let them pass. As for Lin Yi, who was sitting in the co-driver's seat, they simply ignored him. This kind of situation showed that there was either a problem with the Tagan family's management or they were too arrogant. They disdained to interrogate Lin Yi and felt that he wouldn't be able to stir up a storm by himself. In fact, both of Lin Yi's guesses were established. All these years, the Tagan family had always been the #1 power among the aristocratic families and gangs in Ruilita town. Who dared to cause trouble for the Tagan family? At least, this guard had been working as a guard for several years and had never met an enemy who broke into the Tagan family, let alone someone who was brought into the family by the Tagan family themselves. "See, I said it's fine." Shiraz smiled proudly. Lin Yi nodded and said, "Don't delay, go directly to the library pavilion." "Okay." Shiraz thought of Lin Yi's purpose and immediately wanted to say something but stopped. "What's wrong?" Lin Yi turned his head to look at Shiraz and asked. "This time, I betrayed the Tagan family. If I stay here, I will be suspected sooner or later. So after Mr. Zhang enters the library pavilion, can you let me go and let me leave?" Shiraz hesitated for a moment and said, "What does it have to do with me whether you leave or not? I can't stop you either." Lin Yi said faintly. To be honest, he didn't have the intention to kill Shiraz. This was only a small character who was in the Tagan family for the sake of survival. Betraying the Tagan family to help Lin Yi was also for the sake of survival. Lin Yi didn't need to make things difficult for such a person. "But the acupoints on my body haven't been opened." Shiraz smiled bitterly and said, "Without strength, I can't run far. Moreover, if I run, I'm afraid that it will attract the attention of the Tagan family. If I don't have vital energy, I won't be able to run fast. I'm afraid that I'll be caught and brought back. So that's how it is." Lin Yi nodded. "Since that's the case, then I'll tell you a trick. I guarantee that you can escape smoothly." "What trick?" "Mr. Zhang, please enlighten me," Shiraz quickly asked. "In a while, I'll enter the library pavilion. You find a dark place below the library pavilion and wait for me. I'll give a long whistle to warn you. After I whistle, it means that I've succeeded. You immediately drive out and inform those guards who are chasing me. Tell them that I ran into the Tagan family and stirred up a storm. Tell them to hurry back and support." Lin Yi said. Chapter 2291. You don't have to worry about my matters. After I give you a warning, I'll leave together with them. When you call them back, I'll already be gone. Luring the tiger away from the mountain is good for you, and similarly, it's also good for me. Lin Yi said, As for them wanting you to come back together, that's easy. Just say that you'll continue to inform those Tagan family people guarding the exit of the Woolen-Hate mountain range. Alright, I understand. Lazi nodded. He wasn't a slow-witted person. Lin Yi immediately understood. It had to be said that Lin Yi's plan was good. Pretending to be a messenger, and then escaping like a cicada slipping out of its shell. Although this could also be considered as helping Lin Yi, when old 12, second protector, and third protector returned, Lin Yi left and prepared to escape. Since that's the case, I'll unseal your acupoints. Lin Yi waited for La Zi to park the car before unsealing his acupoints. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. La Zi said gratefully, that's the library pavilion. Be careful, Mr. Zhang. Lin Yi waved his hand, pushed the door open, and got off the car. With a flash, he disappeared in the direction of the library pavilion. So fast, as expected of a mid-earth rank expert. La Zi clicked his tongue. To be honest, the Tagan family's library pavilion wasn't very big. Although it was an independent two-story building, after entering, it could be seen that the space was big and the bookshelves were few. Perhaps this was the common problem of these families. Their foundation wasn't as deep as those ancient sects and ancient families. Although this library pavilion was a lot bigger than the Hidden Han family, it wasn't as big as Lin Yi had expected. Seeing this, Lin Yi was a bit puzzled. What was the relationship between those heaven rank experts and the Tagan family? Previously, Lin Yi's thinking was a bit limited. He didn't have time to think about it in detail when he was in a dangerous situation. But now, after careful consideration, he had some doubts. How could the Tagan family control so many heaven stage experts? But from the looks of it now, these heaven rank experts didn't seem to belong to the Tagan family. Perhaps the Tagan family was just a vassal force to them, just like the relationship between some hidden aristocratic families and ancient sections. Perhaps it was also because Tagan Long was a disciple of this great sect that these heaven rank experts took care of the Tagan family? That was because Lin Yi was a little disappointed after just a glance at the collection of books here. There was nothing too extraordinary. They were all some ordinary mental cultivation methods and martial techniques. Just from the names, one could tell that they were not top-notch mental cultivation methods and martial techniques. However, there were some things that could not be judged based on their names. It was just that Lin Yi was pressed for time this time, so he didn't have time to flip through them one by one. It was also impossible for him to take away all of these books. If he took away one essence necklace's refining method, the Tagan family probably wouldn't find out. But if he took too many, the Tagan family might go crazy and chase him back. The gains wouldn't make up for the losses. At this moment, the library pavilion was very quiet and empty. At this time, the Tagan family's disciples probably wouldn't come here. Lin Yi quickly flipped through the bookshelf to find the refining method for the essence necklace. There weren't many books in the library pavilion, so with Lin Yi's eyesight, his gaze quickly fell on a book on the top layer of the leftmost bookshelf, Essence Necklace Refining Method. It was this book. Lin Yi quickly took out this book and roughly flipped through it under the moonlight. The book was a thread-bound manuscript. The handwriting was very big and could be seen clearly under the moonlight. As expected, among the required materials, the first item was the essence Niden of a spirit beast. After confirming that this was what he was looking for, Lin Yi didn't look at it anymore and quickly put it into his pocket. Just as Lin Yi was about to leave the library pavilion to find Tagan Long, Lin Yi's footsteps suddenly stopped. He felt an inexplicable danger. A cultivator was walking towards the library pavilion. Judging from the true chi fluctuations on his body, he should be an early mystic class master. The purpose of Lin Yi's trip was to steal the book and then find Tagan Long. He didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. If possible, it would be best not to become enemies with this person who came to the library pavilion. God knew what this early mystic class master was here for. If he was really entrusted by the head of the Tagan family, Tagan Gao, or some old ancestor who was in seclusion to come here, if Lin Yi killed him and didn't see anyone return, they would definitely come out to look for him. He wouldn't have time to find trouble with Tagan Long, so he could only run first. So, the first thought that came to Lin Yi's mind was to hide. There were only 2 bookshelves in the library pavilion, but there were some wooden tables and chairs. It was probably for the convenience of reading, and under the table was just the right place for Lin Yi to hide. Footsteps came from outside the library pavilion. As expected, this person came to the library pavilion. Lin Yi's figure also took the opportunity to hide under the table. An early mystic class master was easy to kill for Lin Yi, but Lin Yi still wanted to kill Tagan Long naturally. He didn't want to cause any unnecessary trouble. He just waited for this guy to come to the library pavilion and take his things, then quickly leave. The light in the library pavilion was turned on, and the entire library pavilion was suddenly lit up. Previously, Lin Yi didn't turn on the light and completely relied on the moonlight and the perception in the space of the jade pendant to identify the books here. But this person obviously didn't need to do so. The person didn't expect that there was someone hiding in the library pavilion. After turning on the light, he swaggered to the shelf on the left of the bookshelf where Lin Yi was standing before. However, after searching a few times, he suddenly let out a and then muttered to himself strangely, "Didn't I say to put it here? Why is it gone?" Although Lin Yi was under the table, he was very concerned about the person's actions. Seeing him walk to the bookshelf where he was before, Lin Yi's heart slightly sank. He was afraid that this guy would notice that a book was missing. But what Lin Yi didn't expect was that this person would actually say such a thing. If Lin Yi's guess was right, then this person was probably looking for the essence chi necklace making method in his hand. He was looking for this book? Lin Yi frowned. Just as he was thinking of a solution, the person had already taken out the walkie-talkie and said, "Young Master Tagan, I'm in the library pavilion, but I don't see the book you want." "You don't see it? It's at the top of the bookshelf on the left. I placed it myself." Tagan Long's voice came from the walkie-talkie. "I've looked carefully, but there really isn't it," the person said with some hesitation. Chapter 2292. "All right, young Master Tagan. I'll wait for you here," the person said respectfully. Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. Lin Yi had wanted to kill the person in front of him and run away, but he didn't think that the person who had sent him to get the book would be Tagan Long. Moreover, after failing to get the book, Tagan Long actually wanted to come here personally. This made Lin Yi feel as if he had worn out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it effortlessly. This guy really came to die on his own accord. Thinking of this, Lin Yi didn't have anything else to worry about. He climbed out from under the table, stood up, and walked behind the person. Lin Yi was an Earth-class mid-stage master, and his strength was much higher than the person who had come. He was also good at hiding his strength, so he came behind the person without a sound. The person didn't notice, but just as Lin Yi was about to kill the person without a sound, the person suddenly felt that something was wrong behind him. He suddenly turned around and saw Lin Yi behind him. He let out a cry of disbelief, his eyes filled with surprise, but he wasn't afraid. From his perspective, how could there be an enemy in the Tagan family? This was something that had never happened before. So although the person who came was unfamiliar, he only thought that it was someone else who had sent him here to get the book. He was about to ask why there was no sound, like a ghost, when he felt a sudden pain in his chest. Immediately after, his body flew backwards and landed heavily on a bookshelf not far away, making a loud sound. The bookshelf also fell down, and the books on it scattered all over the floor. Ambushing an early-stage mystic class master, especially one who wasn't on guard, was naturally easy for Lin Yi. And so, the man lost his life in an inexplicable way. He didn't even know how he died. Who was Lin Yi? How dare he kill someone here? After killing the person, Lin Yi turned around and hid at the door of the library. It wasn't a good place to hide, because anyone who entered the library could see Lin Yi standing behind the door as soon as they turned around. But it was a good place for a sneak attack. Lin Yi didn't want to hide from Tagan Long, but he wanted to ambush him when he saw the shocking scene in the library. Tagan Long was an early-stage Earth-class master. Although this guy looked like a playboy, and his strength seemed to be piled up with elixirs, Lin Yi wouldn't underestimate him. Although there was a difference between early and middle-stage Earth-class, the difference wasn't particularly obvious. This difference could be made up for with superior martial arts and mental cultivation. Not long after Lin Yi hid, footsteps came from the door of the library again. It should be Tagan Long. Lin Yi had already sensed the strength of the person who came early-stage Earth-class. Tagan Long didn't expect a tragedy to happen in the library, but as a practitioner, he was naturally sensitive to the smell of blood. When he reached the door, he still felt a trace of abnormality. His footsteps paused slightly, and he suddenly discovered the change in the library. The subordinate he had sent to help him get the book was now dead on the ground, and the bookshelf of the library was also smashed by his body. "Who is it?" Tagan Long subconsciously became alert and shouted. Lin didn't think that this idiot Tagan Long would be so vigilant, noticing the problem before he even stepped into the library. Originally, Lin wanted to ambush Tagan Long from behind after he entered the library, but it seemed impossible now. Lin had to show himself. This was because Lin was afraid that Tagan Long would turn around and go back to ask for help. When the other masters of the Tagan house came, Lin wouldn't even be able to leave the library safely, let alone kill Tagan Long. "Master Tagan, how have you been?" With that thought, Lin flashed and walked out from behind the door, standing in front of Tagan Long. "Zhang Naipeo?" Tagan Long's eyes focused. "Why are you here?" "To kill you." As Lin said this, he silently activated the third form of Frenzy Fist and struck towards Tagan Long. In the Tagan house, Lin didn't want to cause too much of a commotion, and from Lin Yi's point of view, the third form of Frenzy Fist was equivalent to the fourth form of a normal technique, and it was enough to kill this idiot Tagan Long. Lin could also activate a higher level technique, but he was afraid of causing too much of a commotion and attracting trouble. Especially since he couldn't use chi bombs, the sound of the explosion would be too loud, and even the elders in isolation would be shaken out. At that time, Lin wouldn't be able to escape even if he wanted to. Tagan Long smiled coldly, as if he already knew that Lin was going to attack. His body moved slightly to the side, and he easily dodged Lin Yi's third form of Frenzy Fist. He came not far from Lin Yi, and suddenly raised his hands. A strange light flashed on his palms. 5 elements Bagua Palm First Form. First form? Tagan Long was only an early Earth class expert, and he could only activate the first form. Lin wasn't surprised. What surprised him was that his Frenzy Fist had been easily dodged by Tagan Long. This Qinggong made Lin admire Lin. This kid's life-saving methods were quite powerful. However, when Tagan Long's palms pushed towards Lin was shocked, and the jade pendant on his chest actually sent out a strong warning signal. In the past, when he fought with an enemy, the jade pendant would also send out a warning, but such a strong warning only appeared when he was fighting with the Fifth Protector and the Great Protector. But now, it appeared in the battle between him and Tagan Long. This made Lin shocked and horrified. The aura was very strong and strange. Tagan Long's seemingly calm palms had an indescribable power. Even Lin couldn't tell the attribute of Tagan Long's mantra. Was it fire or water? Or wood? Metal? Earth? The palms with the strange light slammed towards Lin Yi's chest. Lin didn't dare to take it head-on, but the arrow on the bow had to be fired. Lin had no choice but to use his strongest technique. Frenzy Fist, 5th form. Boom! Boom! Lin Yi's fists met Tagan Long's palms. The next moment, Lin felt an earth-shattering force coming from Tagan Long's palms. Lin was forced to take 2 steps back, but Tagan Long didn't seem to have an advantage. He was hit by Lin Yi's Frenzy Fist and quickly took a few steps back, his face slightly pale. Chapter 2293. This Tagan dragon only had the strength of an early Earth-class warrior. The gap between them was obvious, but he actually managed to clash head-on with him? In Lin Yi's eyes, Tagan Dragon was just an idiot, an early Earth-class warrior who used elixirs to build his strength. However, Lin did not expect Tagan Dragon to be able to use such an overbearing martial technique. Whether it was his combat ability or reaction speed, they were far beyond Lin Yi's expectations. However, even if the two of them were evenly matched in this move, Lin Yi's face was still very ugly. Although he did not lose, he had actually lost. This was because Lin had used the 5th form of Frenzy Fist, while Tagan Dragon had used the first form of some 8 trigrams palm. The first form against the 5th form, and Lin was only evenly matched. If this was not a loss, then what was? Moreover, Lin Yi's strength was much higher than Tagan Dragon's. This guy was the one who was really fighting above his level, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. When they were in the Wulong Hout Mountains, this kid had the appearance of an idiot, not revealing anything. In the end, he actually had such a powerful strength. As the saying goes, once an expert makes a move, you can tell whether he's real or not. As soon as Tagandragon made a move, Lin Yi knew that this guy was not an idiot, but a real expert. He was very strong. This was Lin Yi's evaluation of Tagandragon. This guy had hidden his strength too well. If it was not for Lin Yi personally making a move, Tagandragon would have even fooled Lin Yi's eyes. Tagandragon actually did not want to reveal his strength. If it was not a critical moment of life and death, Tagandragon would definitely not make a move against Lin. If there was an expert beside him, Tagandragon would definitely let the expert do it, and he himself would pretend to be afraid. However, there was no expert beside him now, so he had no choice but to make a move. This was a battle of life and death, so he could not go easy on Lin. Lin Yi was secretly anxious. If he had known that Tagandragon was an expert, then he would have thought twice about his plan. It would be great to kill Tagandragon, but what if Tagandragon was a tough bone to chew? Even if he killed them, he would have to pay a huge price. That was not what Lin Yi wanted to see. If he had known this earlier, Lin Yi might have chosen to leave immediately after stealing the book collection. Even if he went to find trouble with Tagandragon, he would not have acted so rashly. He would have compressed an energy bomb in his hand to achieve his goal of killing Tagandragon. But now it was too late. Lin Yi did not have much time to think. He once again used the fifth form of Frenzy Fist, aiming straight for Taganlong's chest. Taganlong snorted coldly and said, "I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be so strong." The second style of the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, take this. With that, Taganlong didn't dodge. He raised his palms and pushed out towards Lin Yi's fists. An even greater power than before surged towards him, causing Lin Yi's heart to skip a beat. How could this Tagandragon be so powerful? Could it be that he was holding back just now? From what he said, it seemed like he did not use his full strength just now. Now, he was facing Lin Yi squarely. This feeling of being looked down upon made Lin Yi very unhappy. It was just like what he had said in the past when he faced an enemy a level higher than him. The thrill of fighting an enemy a level higher than himself was now non-existent in front of Tagandragon. This was a strong opponent. Lin Yi realized that he had underestimated his opponent too much. He really should not have been fooled by Tagandragon's appearance. Boom, boom. Another 2 loud sounds rang out. But this time, although Tagandragon still took a few steps back, Lin Yi's body was directly sent flying. The second form. It was just the second form of a martial arts technique, but it was already so powerful. Lin Yi secretly complained in his heart. This Tagandragon's master was powerful, and so was his disciple. No wonder those Bagua Pao people valued Tagandragon so much. It turned out that this guy was really capable. Again. Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground. He got up, wiped the blood off his mouth with his sleeve and said coldly, "Since you don't care about life and death, I'll send you on your way." Tagandragon looked at Lin Yi coldly. In his eyes, Lin Yi was already a dead man. "Now that you know my secret, I can't let you leave here alive, no matter who you are or where you come from." Sure enough, Tagandragon had always been pretending to be a playboy and tolerating it. Lin Yi secretly thought that this guy was very scheming, but his hands did not stop. He directly struck out with the 5th form of Frenzy Fist. However, this time, it was not just the 5th form of Frenzy Fist, but the 5th form of Frenzy Fist combined with the Firestream Divine Bullets. It was equivalent to the 11th form of an ordinary martial arts technique. Frenzy Fist. Lin Yi once again used the 5th form of Frenzy Fist like a moth flying into a flame and hit Tagandragon. Tagandragon, on the other hand, took a deep breath and pushed out his palms again. 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, 3rd form. "You can die now." Tagandragon shouted coldly. "You can force me to use my strongest martial arts technique. It's not easy. It's a worthy death." The 3rd form? An early Earth-class martial artist could use the 3rd form? Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. Could it be that this Tagan dragon was a genius like him? Lin Yi could use the third form of Frenzy Fist when he was in the early Earth class, but Tagan Dragon could do it too. Moreover, Lin Yi clearly felt that Tagan Dragon's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm was especially powerful, much stronger than ordinary Earth-class martial arts techniques. Lin Yi's Frenzy Fist was already considered a very superior martial arts technique, but compared to Tagan Dragon's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, it was still lacking. This gave Lin Yi the urge to secretly learn from Tagan Dragon. What would happen if he mastered this 5 elements 8 trigrams palm? Of course, Lin Yi was just thinking about it. This martial arts technique would not be placed in the library. Moreover, Lin Yi was not in the mood to continue fighting. If he did not quickly resolve the matter in front of him and attract the old ancestor, Tagan Dragon's grandfather, second protector, third protector, and 12th brother, then Lin Yi would not be able to escape today. Although martial arts techniques were good, one needed to be alive to practice them. Moreover, Lin Yi was not in a hurry to learn this martial arts technique. While there was life, there was hope. There would always be a chance to secretly learn it in the future. Boom! Boom! Lin Yi's fists smashed onto Tagan Dragon's palms. Tagan Dragon's face suddenly changed from shock to pale, and then red. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Tagan Dragon was sent flying by Lin Yi, and blood spurted from his mouth. It was obvious that he had suffered a very serious internal injury. Chapter 2294. However, after saying this, Tagan Long's vision turned black and he fainted. He was indeed very powerful and could fight enemies of a higher rank, but no matter how powerful he was, he couldn't withstand the power of Lin Yi's Frenzied Fire Fist's 5th style and Firestream Deity Bullet. It had to be known that when the Great Guardian was hit by Lin Yi's move, his chi and blood were in turmoil and he was almost injured, let alone Tagan Long. Ah! Lin Yi let out a long howl, warning La Zi, while he himself quickly ran away into the distance. Lin Yi wanted to give Tagan Long another punch to end his life, but Lin Yi felt danger, an incomparably powerful danger. His battle with Tagan Long must have attracted an expert from the Tagan family. Was it Tagan Gao or the Tagan ancestor who was in seclusion? But no matter who it was, Lin Yi was not an opponent, so the only thing Lin Yi could do was run for his life. At this moment, time was of the essence. Even a few tenths of a second might cause him to lose the opportunity to escape, so Lin Yi simply ignored Tagan Long and ran. As it turned out, Lin Yi was right. Just as Lin Yi's figure disappeared, another figure appeared where Lin Yi and Tagan Long were fighting. He was the Heaven Realm ancestor of the Tagan family who had been in seclusion all year round, Tagan Gon. Tagan Gon was an expert at the peak of the middle stage of Heaven rank. He had been in seclusion all year round to reach the late stage of Heaven rank. However, he felt that there was a battle in the Tagan family tonight. The mental perception of a Heaven rank expert was very strong, so he felt that something was wrong and hurriedly rushed towards the direction of the battle. Long, my great-grandson. Tagan Gon arrived at the scene and was shocked to see the unconscious Tagan Long covered in blood lying on the ground. Although he knew that the murderer had escaped, he didn't dare to chase after him. He was concerned about Tagan Long's situation and hurriedly bent down to Tagan Long's side. Long, how are you? Tagangan picked up Tagan Dragon and placed his hand on Tagan Dragon's meridians in grief and indignation. After placing his hand on Tagan Dragon's meridians, he discovered that Tagan Dragon's meridians were in a mess. It was obvious that Tagan Dragon had suffered serious internal injuries. Tagan Long, on the other hand, was unconscious and unable to speak. La Zi didn't expect Lin Yi and Tagan Long to fight. He cursed his bad luck. Usually, there would be no one in the library at this time, but today, 2 people had come. Even Tagan Long had come in person. This was going to be troublesome. Of course, what Shiraz didn't know was that even if Tagan Dragon didn't come, Lin Yi would still find trouble with him. Tagan Dragon coming here was just to make it easier for Lin Yi to make a move on him. Razi wanted to escape at this time, but he didn't dare to. If he left now, wouldn't it make Tagangan suspicious? Who's there? Razi didn't expect that even though he didn't run away, he would still be discovered by Tagangan. Tagangan's eyes were like torches as he looked in the direction of Razi. Ancestor, it's me. I'm Razy. I'm here to report to young Master Taganlong. I didn't expect to see such a scene. I was scared silly. Razy was not stupid. He quickly thought of a countermeasure and walked over with a pale face. Razy? Tagangan pondered for a moment and nodded. I know you. You're the person in charge of our adventurer guild. Ah, Ancestor still remembers me? It's an honor. Razy quickly put on a happy expression. What message do you want to report? Tagangan waved his hand and asked. Although he was anxious, he knew that he couldn't save Tagandragon. He only hoped that the Great Guardian would get the news and come as soon as possible. What happened? Father, why are you here? Tagandragon? What happened to him? The person who came was Tagandragon's grandfather, Tagango. He heard the commotion here, so he ran over and found Tagandragon in Tagangan's arms. Tagandragon was injured, Tagangan said. Quickly ask the Great Guardian to come and treat him. Great Guardian? Tagango was stunned. Only then did he remember that his father had been in seclusion all this time. He didn't know what happened at home. Tagango was afraid of disturbing his seclusion, so he naturally didn't tell him that the Great Guardian was dead. At this time, he could only smile bitterly. The Great Guardian is dead. Father, I'll explain this to you later. Tagandragon's injury cannot be delayed. Patriarch Ancestor, I'll go and inform Mr. 6 and Mr. 12 of the Great Guardian and ask them to help. Razy finally found a good reason to get away. Chapter 2295. This way, the second and third protectors, as well as Old 12, would definitely rush back to Tagan House. There was no way they would look for Lin Yi anymore, and La Zi would be able to escape as well. Otherwise, if they left people to search the area and La Zi was caught, he'd probably lose his head if they found out that he was the one who lured Lin Yi here. What? Tagandragon is injured? The second protector was shocked after hearing La Zi's words. We'll go back immediately. All right. La Zi hung up the phone and headed straight for the border town. He had to escape through the night. As for luggage, he didn't need it. He had an account in a Swiss bank, and as long as he had money, everything would be fine. When the second protector answered the phone, the third protector and Old 12 were listening on the side. When they heard that Tagandragon was injured by Zhang Naipeo, their faces darkened. This Zhang Naipeo, he's trying to lure us away. The third protector said hatefully, we all thought that he was going to escape, so we searched the streets for him, but we didn't expect him to come back to Tagan House and injure Tagandragon. This kid really dared to do it. Old 12 frowned, but I know Tagandragon's strength. That Zhang Naipeo is only in Earth class mid-phase, and Tagandragon should be on par with him. How did he get injured? Who knows? Also, how did Zhang Naipeo know where Tagan House is, and how did he find Tagandragon? The second protector was confused as well. Let's not care about this, let's go back and take a look. Old 12 was worried about Tagandragon's safety. Although this person was a disciple of Tagan House, Old 12 was even more worried about him, because that place, which was his sect, had high hopes for Tagandragon. If anything happened to Tagandragon, it would affect the entire plan. At this time, Lin Yi had already left for a long time. With Lin Yi's speed, even if Old 12 and the second and third protectors rushed back, they wouldn't be able to meet him. At this moment, Lin Yi had already left Raylada town with the Skybolt pig, using the river to go back to the border town. In the Tagan family's manner, 12th brother saw the Tagandragon in Tagangon's arms and took it. He placed his hand on Tagandragon's pulse and immediately frowned. The pulse was chaotic, the chi was chaotic, and many meridians were broken. In such a situation, ordinary minor reversion pills and meridian unblocking pills were no longer of any use. The pills that Old 12 had on him could no longer save Taganlong. His face turned very ugly as he hated Naipeo to the core. Where did this bastard come from? He had actually played the trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain, running back to the Tagan family and injuring the Tagandragon. It would have been fine if he had injured someone else, but the key was the Tagandragon. What's going on? Old 12 asked with a gloomy face. I don't know either. Taganen was a little embarrassed. He really couldn't answer Old 12's question. When he came here, Taganlong had already been injured by Lin Yi, and the murderer had run away. He didn't even see the murderer's appearance. When I was in seclusion, I felt a strong wave of vital energy. It seemed like someone was fighting inside the Taganlong family. After I confirmed it, I ran out, but I was still a step too late. I'll inform Six's senior brother to bring Taganlong back to the sect immediately. If there's any delay, I'm afraid it might be too late. 12 didn't get an answer, and he didn't want to keep asking. Even if he knew why Naipeo was here, it didn't matter anymore. The most important thing right now was how to heal the Tagan dragon. With that said, Old 12 took out a piece of paper and wrote down the situation here. He then tied it to the spirit beast's leg and let it fly out. After doing all this, Old 12 used his hand to hold the Tagan dragon's pulse and channeled some essential chi into it, temporarily keeping the Tagan dragon alive. Fortunately, Tagan dragon's physique was rather special. Old 12 was also his martial uncle, and the mental cultivation method he cultivated was also one of Tagan dragon's. Therefore, Tagan dragon's body did not reject essential chi. However, Old 12's essential chi did not have the effect of healing and could only maintain his life. Six had been looking for Sun Jingyi on the mountain, and he didn't expect to get another one right after receiving a report from a flying spirit beast. Could it be that Sun Jingyi had come down as well? After taking a look at the note on the spirit bird's leg, Old Six's expression instantly became extremely unpleasant. Tagan dragon was injured? Zhang Naipeo didn't run after coming down the mountain, but went inside the Tagan family and injured Tagan dragon? Six was dazed as he read the contents of the note. How was this possible? This Zhang Naipeo was too bold, wasn't he? Zhang Naipeo, if anything happens to Tagan dragon, Master will definitely wipe out your entire family. Six said hatefully. He didn't care about looking for Sun Jingyi anymore, and flew down the mountain as fast as he could, heading towards the Tagan family. In the Tagan family, when the 6th brother saw the Tagan dragon beside the 12th brother, he was a little shocked. Just from looking at the injuries with the naked eye, it was already very serious. It was more serious than he had imagined. 6th brother, you're back? Let's go back to the sect immediately and bring Tagan dragon to see Master. His injury is very serious, and only Master might have a way. 12 said quickly after seeing 6. Alright. 6 nodded, but he was a little hesitant. Are we not going to look for that treasure and Zhang Naipeo and the others? These don't seem to be as important as Tagan dragon. If something happens to Tagan dragon and ruin Master's plan, then you and I will be sinners. 12 said. That's true, then let's go back tonight. 6 said. Tagangan and Tagango didn't want Old 6 and Old 12 to leave. If they left, the strength of the Tagangan family would plummet. Now that the Great Protector was dead, if Old 6 and Old 12 also left, then the most powerful person in the Tagangan family would be Old Ancestor Tagangan. He couldn't cultivate in seclusion anymore and could only come out to oversee the family. This was not what he wanted. But they also knew that they couldn't stop them, and they were more worried about Tagan dragon's injury. So, Tagan Gao said decisively, Men, prepare a car and send Mr. 6 and Mr. 12 away. No need, a car is too slow. 6 waved his hand. He and 12 were both sky-class masters, and going at full speed was much faster than a car. They could also take shortcuts, and they didn't have to use the road. Chapter 2296. Alright, don't be sad. To that place, is more important than our family. They will definitely think of a way. Tagangan said comfortingly, Today's matter ends here. Don't mention it to anyone else. Just say that Taganlong is facing the wall and reflecting on his mistakes because of the fire lion. Yes, father. Tagango thought about it. That was indeed the case. Looking at Old 6 and Old 12's anxious looks, it was obvious that they were more concerned about Taganlong's safety. By the way, where did that guy go? Why isn't he back yet? Tagangan suddenly thought of Razi. Didn't this guy go to find Old 12 and the others? Why hasn't Lotzi come back when 12th brother is back? Yeah, Lotzi should know more than us. What about this kid? Tagango was also stunned. He turned to look at the 2nd and 3rd protectors and asked, Did Lazio not come back with you? Lotzi? No, Lotzi just called to tell us that Taganlong was injured by Naipeo. Isn't he at home? The 2nd guard said curiously. What? Call him? Isn't there no signal in the Wulongheot Mountains? Tagan heard this and immediately felt that something was amiss. Wulongheot Mountains? We weren't in Wulongheot Mountains. Zhang Naipeo left the mountains earlier, and me, Third, and Mr. 12 were chasing him, so we were able to get through. The second guard frowned. Not good. Call Razi immediately and ask him where he is. Tagango felt that something was wrong. Alright. The second guardian quickly picked up the phone and dialed Lotzi's number, but there was a notification that the phone was turned off. The second guardian's expression suddenly changed. It's switched off. There's definitely something wrong with this guy. Tagangon's face changed as well. He hadn't seen the enemy before, but Lazi had, and knew that it was Naipeo's doing. If this guy was innocent, then why would Lin Yi let him live? Or rather, Razi had long discovered that Lin Yi and Tagandragon were fighting. Why didn't he warn his family beforehand? Investigate. Find Chiratzi's 18 generations of ancestors and bring him back. Tagan Gao's expression wasn't good either. He was in charge of the Tagan family's affairs. He was the patriarch of the Tagan family. Although he didn't have the authority to speak on the Tagan dragon's cultivation and other important matters, he was still in charge of these businesses. Shiraz was also considered to be working for him. How could he not be angry when there was a problem? However, since Shiraz dared to leave, he was naturally not afraid of being investigated. His identity was fake, including the name Shiraz, which he casually came up with while reading a web novel. No matter how powerful the Tagan family was in Riolata town, Shiraz had escaped to the border town. The Tagan family couldn't do anything to him once he left Riolata town. Although Lin Yi's injuries weren't particularly serious, they weren't light either. The Tagan dragon's martial technique was really powerful, beyond Lin Yi's imagination. After arriving at the border town, Lin Yi quickly returned to the inn he had stayed at. This was the place he had agreed to meet Sun Jingyi. Meanwhile, Lin Yi dialed Sun Jingyi's number at the entrance of the inn. Sun Jingyi quickly picked up the phone. She was pleasantly surprised. She had been worried about Lin Yi's situation, but she didn't dare to call casually for fear of affecting Lin. Therefore, after she returned to the inn, she was on tenterhooks every day and couldn't sleep well at night. It's me. I'm back at the border town. Where are you? Linist. I'm at the inn we agreed on previously. Room 302. What about you? Sun Jingyi heaved a sigh of relief when she heard that Lin Yi was fine. I'm near the inn. I'll head up right away. Lin Yi didn't say much and hung up the phone. After entering the inn, Lin Yi told the innkeeper the room number and went upstairs. He came to the door of room 302 and knocked on it. Who is it? Although Sun Jingyi knew that it might be Lin Yi, she still asked very carefully. After all, she wasn't a cultivator. She had to be cautious when someone knocked on the door in the middle of the night. It's me, Lin Yi said. Sun Jingyi quickly opened the door and saw Lin Yi's pale face. Although Lin Yi looked normal on the surface, Sun Jingyi could feel that Lin Yi should be very weak. Are you hurt? I'm hurt. I need to heal. Lin Yi nodded. Sun Jingyi let Lin Yi enter the room and locked the door. Then she said, Do you need me to do anything? Just give me a wet towel to wipe my face. As Lin Yi said this, he sat cross-legged on the bed and began to use the second stage of the art of dragon mastery to heal himself. A huge amount of qi flowed continuously from the space in the jade into Lin Yi's meridians, healing Lin Yi's injured body. Lin Yi suddenly felt relaxed, but his heart was filled with shock and fear. Fortunately, Tagan Long was only an Earth-class early-stage master. If his strength was a little higher, the one who would be seriously injured today would probably be him. Although he had the intention to escape and should be able to escape in the end, it would definitely not be so easy. Sun Jingyi went to the bathroom to get a towel, wet it, and came back to pass it to Lin. However, she saw that Lin Yi was already sitting cross-legged on the bed and began to heal, so she didn't disturb Lin. Instead, she personally took the towel and wiped his face. Looking at Lin Yi's pale face, Sun Jingyi felt a strange feeling in her heart. Gratitude? Or guilt? Or something else? From Sun Jingyi's point of view, Lin Yi must have been injured so badly because of her. She used the 1,000 silk mask and successfully evaded the Tagan family's investigation, but Lin Yi had to force his way down. The Tagan family was full of experts, and Lin Yi was able to escape unscathed. Although it was a blessing in misfortune, Sun Jingyi still felt that she had let Lin Yi down. In the beginning, saying that Lin Yi was her lover was more or less using Lin. However, after the two became familiar and closer, this lover became a joke. Now, Sun Jingyi had the urge to really become Lin Yi's lover. A man who could do so much for her, even if it was from a friend's point of view, made Sun Jingyi very touched. No one had ever done this much for Sun Jingyi since she was a kid. Chapter 2297. Unfortunately, Sun Jingyi couldn't have him completely. Not to mention Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao, even Meng Yao, Yu Shu, and Ling Shan weren't people that Sun Jingyi could chase away. So, Sun Jingyi was troubled when she thought about it. Lin Yi saw Sun Jingyi walk over. He wanted to take the towel himself, but he didn't think that Sun Jingyi would actually help him wipe his face. This surprised Lin Yi, but he still enjoyed it silently. After all, Lin Yi was healing right now, and he didn't want to stop halfway. After wiping Lin Yi's face carefully, Sun Jingyi helped Lin Yi wipe his hands. Then, she put down the towel and sat not far from Lin Yi. She waited quietly for Lin Yi, looking at Lin Yi, waiting for him to finish healing. Skybolt Pig laid quietly on the side and quickly fell asleep. He knew that Lin Yi's injuries weren't serious this time, and he didn't need to do anything. He was tired, so naturally he slept first. House Tagan's attention was on Lotzi. As for Lin Yi, this Zhang Nai Peo, they didn't look for him, and they didn't dare to look for him. Who knew if Lin Yi had met up with that crazy sky-class old man? The main guard was killed by them, and Tagan Gon didn't have the confidence to take care of Lin. He could only give up, but even if he didn't want to give up, he couldn't leave Ruilita town and go to the border town. So, Lin Yi was very safe here, and he spent the night peacefully. On the second day, when the sun shone in the sky, Lin Yi opened his eyes. Sun Jingyi, who had been waiting on the side, was immediately happy. Lin Yi, are you all right? Well, I'm fine. Thank you for staying with me the whole night. Lin Yi was healing himself, but he could see everything that was going on outside of his body. Jingyi had been watching him the whole time after wiping his face and hands, and Lin Yi was a little touched by this. You know everything? Sun Jingyi suddenly blushed. She didn't expect her behavior to be discovered by Lin. She just wanted to watch Lin Yi silently. How far could she go with Lin Yi? Sun Jingyi didn't think about it, but now that Lin Yi said it out loud, she felt a little embarrassed. Take a nap. I reckon you haven't been sleeping well these days. If it weren't for the fact that you're a cultivator, you would probably have dark circles under your eyes. Lin Yi didn't continue this topic. He could more or less guess Sun Jingyi's thoughts, but for this kind of thing, Lin Yi wanted to let nature take its course and not deliberately force anything. Then I'm going to sleep. Sun Jingyi was a little embarrassed, and Lin Yi mentioned it again. She really felt a little sleepy, so she nodded and fell on the opposite bed. I'm going to sleep. Wake me up when it's time to eat. By the way, the 1,000 silk mask and the inescapable net are in my bag. You can take them back. After returning to the border town and separating from Biao and the rest, Sun Jingyi returned to her original appearance. Go to sleep. Lin Yi relaxed. There were a lot of things to sort out, such as the harvest from the Wulong Haut mountain range and the strange martial arts of Tagan Dragon. There were a lot of things that he had to ask Jiao Lao. Sun Jingyi was really sleepy, so she fell asleep after falling on the bed for a while. Meanwhile, Lin Yi began to sort out the harvest from this trip to the Wulong Haut mountain range. An inexplicable white energy stone, 2 spirit chi inner elixirs of spirit beasts, the remaining 2 inescapable net, a secret manual on the refining method of the spirit chi necklace, and 1,000 silk mask. Unfortunately, he had used up 3 Firestream God bombs and wasted one of the inescapable net. However, the remaining things were still quite a bountiful harvest. Picking up the secret manual on the refining method of the spirit chi necklace, Lin Yi couldn't wait to flip through it. This secret manual was stolen from the Tagan family by Lin Yi at the risk of his life. It was also one of the things that Lin Yi was most interested in. The Tagan family was an ordinary and small family that was full of mysteries. Not only did they have an outstanding younger generation like Tagan Long, but they also had experts like the Great Guardian, 6th brother, and 12th brother. What surprised Lin Yi the most was that they actually knew the use of the Spirit Beast Inner Elixir. This thing was something that Jiao Lao, Faubert, and even the Thunder Pig and the Purple Electric Tempest Beast didn't know. Yet, they actually knew and even knew the refining method of the Spirit Qi Inner Elixir. This was simply unbelievable to Lin Yi. Wasn't the Tagan family's foundation a little too solid? No wonder the people behind them could annihilate an ancient sect like Faubert. Even if Faubert's sect was a second-rate or third-rate ancient sect, to be able to annihilate it so easily was not something that an ordinary sect could do. Shaking his head, Lin Yi put these thoughts aside for the time being. He took out the book on how to make a profound Qi necklace and carefully flipped through it. This was what Lin Yi felt was the biggest gain from this trip. If he could make a profound Qi necklace, it would definitely be a top-notch treasure. Condensing method of Essence Qi necklace. These 8 big characters leaped into Lin Yi's eyes. This was a photocopy of a thread-bound secret book. Originally, it was handwritten, but the Tagan clan's book collection was a photocopy. Now that technology was advanced, people didn't need to copy anymore. These clans and sects also used this more convenient method to copy the secret book. The basic requirement for condensation, blacksmith. Blacksmith? Lin Yi furrowed his brows. This thing required a blacksmith to condense? Before he could continue reading, the basic requirement on the first page gave Lin Yi a headache. A blacksmith must have the 3 attributes of metal, wood, and fire. Lin Yi thought about his own situation. He couldn't even be an alchemist, let alone a blacksmith who had the metal attribute. What a headache. Originally, he thought that he had gotten a good thing, but he found out that it was impossible to realize. However, this also indirectly proved one point. This Tagan clan was really not simple. They even had a blacksmith, a profession that had disappeared. This had already surpassed the existence of the ancient sect. However, these were not important. No matter how powerful the Tagan clan was, they were only active in Raylorda town. Their influence didn't extend out. At least, Lin Yi didn't find any connection between the ancient sects and them for the time being. Although Lin Yi felt that he wasn't a blacksmith, he still continued to flip through it. After all, his curiosity made Lin Yi unwilling to give up. Refining method, a piece of top-notch jade pendant. Chapter 2298. Number of vitality inner elixirs required for refining, 5. It wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. Lin Yi only had 3 now, including the one that the Great Fire Lion had given him. Judging from the greedy look in the Tagan Dragon's eyes when it saw the vitality inner elixirs, this thing was probably not common. Even the Tagan family that often roamed the Wulong Haut mountain range probably did not have many in stock, and they would not have more than 3 at most. Otherwise, they would not have rejected the condition of 1 per person. They must really need these 2 vitality inner elixirs, which was why they did not hesitate to fall out with him. There was also a note at the back. 5 was the minimum number, and the more, the better. Moreover, the higher the level of the spirit beast, the better the effect. This explanation did not have an upper limit, which made Lin Yi a little puzzled. The more, the better? There was a limit to the size of the jade pendant. If there were too many vitality inner elixirs, would the jade pendant still be able to hold so many vitality inner elixirs? Was there a need for a huge jade pendant? With doubts, Lin Yi continued to read the refining instructions on the next page. Auxiliary materials required for refining, pure topaz, blue crystal powder, colored steel. When Lin Yi saw this page, he could not help but curse. What a scam! Wasn't this too much of a scam? The supplementary materials were actually these 3 as well? Lin Yi only had a small amount of pure topaz and colored steel for these 3 materials. He did not even have blue crystal powder. Did the refining of this vitality necklace also require these 3 materials? Lin Yi's voice was rather loud, and Sun Jingyi was awakened by Lin. She opened her eyes in a daze and looked at Lin. When she realized that Lin Yi was talking to himself, she fell asleep again. With a wry smile, Lin Yi continued reading. The following was an explanation of these supplementary materials. The explanation stated that for every additional inner dan of a spirit beast, a corresponding amount of pure topaz, blue crystal powder, and colored steel was required. It seemed that the more inner dawn there were, the more supplementary materials were required. However, this made Lin Yi feel strange. These explanations were very detailed, but they didn't explain the jade pendant, the main material used to carry these things. They only said that it was a good jade pendant, and they didn't say the size of the jade pendant. It seemed that any kind of jade pendant could be used. Could it be that there was no limit to the size of the jade pendant? Suddenly, Lin Yi thought of something. Blue crystal powder, pure topaz, and colored steel, weren't these the necessary materials needed to refine the jade space? These materials could be used to create a virtual four-dimensional space in the jade pendant. In that case, could these spiritual beasts Yuan Qi and Naiden also rely on the same principle? Using these three supplementary materials to create a virtual four-dimensional space in the space of the jade pendant to play the role of embedding the spiritual beast Yuan Qi and Naiden? Thinking of this, Lin Yi felt that it was very possible. In this way, the previous doubts could also be explained. Why was the size of the jade pendant not explained, but only the quantity of the spiritual beast Yuan Qi and supplementary materials was explained? I see. Lin Yi nodded in realization. He estimated that his guess was not far from the truth. Even if the space inlaid with the spiritual beast Yuan Qi and Naiden was not a four-dimensional space, the principle should be the same. Sure enough, when Lin Yi continued to read, it was about the specific refining method of the essence necklace. However, these steps were extremely simple in Lin Yi's eyes, much simpler than the refining of the jade pendant space. The steps were simplified, and the method was also much simpler. If Lin Yi hadn't carefully looked at the refining method of the jade pendant space before, he wouldn't have found any problems at this moment. However, Lin Yi was looking forward to the refining of the jade pendant space, so he naturally paid attention to the refining method. At this time, looking at the refining method of the essence necklace, he felt that it was much simpler. That's not right. Didn't they say that blacksmiths were very rare, and that one must have the physique of gold, wood, and fire to become a blacksmith? If Lin Yi could successfully refine the jade pendant space according to the refining method described above, then refining this essence necklace would be a piece of cake. Could it be that he could become a blacksmith? If not, then what was the point of refining the jade pendant space in the jade pendant space that was taken out from the cave? This cave couldn't be deceiving him, right? Thinking of this, Lin Yi entered the jade pendant space and asked Jiao Lao, if I collect pure topaz, blue crystal powder, and colored steel, can I refine the jade pendant space to make the jade pendant space? This was the first time that Lin Yi had time to talk with Jiao Yazi in a long time. Previously, Lin Yi was either injured or very nervous. Even if he was in the jade pendant space, he could still sense the situation outside with his divine sense. Now he finally settled down. That's right. Jiao Lao nodded and said with certainty, "That means I can become a blacksmith?" Lin Yi hesitated and asked, "I don't know if you can become a blacksmith, but I'm sure you can condense and make a storage space for a jade pendant. I don't know much about your mental cultivation method, and I haven't verified it in the cultivation world, so I don't know if you're a blacksmith if you can condense a storage space for a jade pendant," Elder Jiao explained. "I got a secret book on how to condense a profound qi necklace. The way to condense a profound qi necklace seems to be a simplified version of the way to condense a storage space in a jade pendant. It saves a lot of steps and is much simpler." Lin Yi told Jiao Yazi about his gains. According to the book, only a blacksmith can refine an essence qi necklace. If that's the case, then you should be able to become a blacksmith. Jiao Yazi said, "The premise is that you have mastered the mental cultivation method used to refine the jade pendant space. However, I am not sure if you can refine an essence qi necklace. You can try. Then, can I use the jade pendant I have as the base material? It won't destroy the original function of the jade pendant. For example, it will make you disappear, right?" Lin Yi asked with some hesitation. Truth be told, if Lin Yi wore another jade pendant, it would be too long-winded and cumbersome. It would naturally be better if he could combine the two. If I use this jade pendant as the base material, I don't know if I can refine it, but it will definitely not break. Jiao Yazi said, "If this jade pendant is so easy to break, I would have lost it long ago. I wouldn't have to wait until now." Chapter 2299. Weaponsmiths had to have metal, wood, and fire elements, and elixirs only had to have wood and fire elements. In other words, all weaponsmiths should know how to concoct elixirs, but Lin Yi didn't? What was the reason for this? Shaking his head, Lin Yi didn't think about it for the time being. With Han Jingjing, the mobile furnace beside him, it didn't matter if he was an alchemist or not. Wouldn't it be more awesome to focus on blacksmithing? It seemed like he had to quickly collect the three materials: pure yellow jade, blue crystal powder, and colored steel. Only by collecting more of these three materials could he create an essence necklace and a storage space. However, he reckoned that the Tagan family should have these three materials, or at least a few of them. When Tagan Long wanted to condense the essence chi necklace, he should have started to collect these supplementary materials. Otherwise, even if he found the essence chi Niden of a spirit beast, it would be useless. It was impossible now. In the future, when he was stronger, he would go to the Tagan family in Ruilida town and steal some good stuff. Not to mention the supplementary materials, just Tagan Long's 5-element Baguazhang was enough to make Lin Yi drool. Just the first style was so powerful. What kind of domineering technique was this? Thinking about the 5-element Baguazhang, Lin Yi's heart started to itch. This kind of technique was simply unheard of. If Lin Yi didn't experience it himself, it would be hard to imagine that there would be a technique that was even better than the Frenzy Fire Fist in this world. The Frenzy Fire Fist was the ultimate technique of the ancient sect that Faubert was in. It must be quite powerful. For thousands of years, many sect masters had practiced it, and there were many masters who were at the peak of Sky-class late-phase peak. It could be seen how powerful this technique was. Even if Faubert's sect was only a second- or third-rate ancient sect, as long as it was related to the ancient times, it shouldn't be simple. For example, Feng Nidian and Zhang Naipeo, they shouldn't be underestimated. At this moment, Lin Yi had an urge to steal the technique. Even thinking about the power of the 5-element Baguazhang, he couldn't suppress it and wanted to explore the Tagan family again. Lin Yi was very sure that if he could learn this technique, it wouldn't be a dream for him to fight an Earth-class late-phase peak. Tagan Long's defense wasn't much, but his attack was unquestionable. Although he was heavily injured by Lin Yi in the end, the damage to Lin Yi wasn't small either. Lin Yi was very clear that if he didn't have the firebolt in his hand, it would be hard to say who would be the first to fall. Tagan Long, 5 Bagua Baguazhang. Of the fire Bagua Bagua fist was just a trick. Once this idea popped up in Lin Yi's mind, it was just a flash of inspiration. However, once this idea popped up, it was a little uncontrollable. It was like bamboo shoots after the rain, germinating in Lin Yi's heart. It wanted to urge Lin Yi to take action. Of course, this was impossible. It was an act of suicide, and Lin Yi definitely wouldn't do it. Even if the terrifying 12th and 6th brother didn't make a move, just Tagan Long, second guardian, and third guardian would be enough to make Lin Yi suffer. So instead of taking the risk, it was better to carefully recall the scene when he fought with Tagan Long last night. Thinking of this, Lin Yi closed his eyes slightly. The scene in the Tagan family's library last night was like a movie, slowly replaying in front of his eyes. From the moment Tagan Long entered the library and made his first move, everything appeared in Lin Yi's mind. However, the situation at that time was relatively urgent, and Lin Yi didn't pay attention to Tagan Long's martial arts technique at first, so he more or less missed it at the beginning. However, Tagan Long's movements later, especially the strange light flashing on his palms, were still fresh in Lin Yi's memory. Lin Yi frowned. He couldn't help but stretch out his palm and imitate Tagan Long's movements, deducing the situation back and forth according to his memory. However, Lin Yi could only remember the activation method of Tagan Long's martial arts technique. Lin Yi didn't know the mantra he cultivated. As such, Lin Yi could only imitate the Tagan Dragon's method of activation and the way he struck out. As for the mantra to activate the martial arts technique, Lin Yi could only use the art of dragon mastery to make up for it. Then, he used the activation method of Frenzy Fire Fist to convert his True Qi into Frenzy Fire Fist's fire attribute True Qi and infused it into his palms. "Ha!" Lin Yi shouted angrily and pushed out both palms. In order not to affect Sun Jingyi, Lin Yi only used the first form of Frenzy Fire Fist's fire attribute True Qi. Boom! Boom! Two loud noises that seemed to shatter the void came from the air. This was the power produced by Lin Yi's palms in the air. Although Lin Yi's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm looked a little nondescript, like a combination of Taganlong's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm and Lin Yi's Frenzy Fire Fist, its power was beyond Lin Yi's imagination. This move only used the mantra of the first form of Frenzy Fire Fist. Combined with the activation method of Taganlong's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm that Lin Yi had imitated and deduced, the Fire Dragon 8 trigrams palm that he executed was more powerful than Frenzy Fire Fist. Although it could not be compared to Taganlong's authentic 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, it was much more powerful than Lin Yi's previous Frenzy Fire Fist. Lin Yi's first form of Frenzy Fire Fist was at least equivalent to the second form of Frenzy Fire Fist. Even so, Lin Yi's heart was filled with crazy joy and pride. Although he did not know if the second form of Fire Dragon 8 trigrams palm released by combining the mantra of the second form of Frenzy Fire Fist with the activation method of the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, what was certain was that it was definitely much more powerful than the ordinary second form of Frenzy Fire Fist. I can actually create my own martial arts technique now? In Lin Yi's knowledge, only the founders of the various ancient sects or martial arts masters could create martial arts techniques. But Lin Yi had created his own martial arts technique? Although its power was not comparable to the original 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, it was already a miracle that Lin Yi could successfully execute this martial arts technique that had been disassembled and modified by him. How could he ask for more? One must know that not all of the founders of ancient sects were able to create their own martial skills. The martial skills that they cultivated were all passed down from ancient times and were refined by some martial arts seniors over and over again. Even in ancient times, only an extremely small number of talented cultivators could summarize and create a unique martial technique. Even if they wanted to modify and perfect an existing martial technique, it was not an easy thing to do. Chapter 2300. Moreover, it produced a completely new martial skill that could even bring about enormous might. That was even rarer. Could it be that he was a genius? After calming down, Lin Yi suppressed his arrogance. Lin Yi knew very well whether he was a genius or not. Perhaps he was slightly more talented than the average cultivator, but he was definitely not a genius. In fact, in the current world of cultivation, the so-called genius was just someone who had a special physique and cultivated a corresponding special mental cultivation method. Then, they displayed monstrous cultivation speed and strength. Such people were often called cultivation geniuses. But because of this, Lin Yi was called a genius. It was just that this was all thanks to the art of dragon mastery and the space in the jade pendant. His physique just happened to be able to cultivate the art of dragon mastery, so he was called a genius. Vaguely, Lin Yi felt that the reason he was able to create a new martial technique that combined two martial techniques, and was able to successfully activate it in one go, was because of the omnipotent martial technique. He had cultivated a martial technique that did not have any practical combat characteristics, but after cultivating it, he could practice all kinds of other martial techniques at will. He could even easily activate martial techniques of different physique attributes. Lin Yi felt that this had a lot to do with the martial technique. And the reason why he was able to activate the martial skill that he had fabricated and integrated should be because he had cultivated this strange, omnipotent martial skill. If the activation method of the Fire Dragon 8 trigrams palm was written into a martial technique mantra, it would not be so easy for Faubert or others to activate it. This was because Lin Yi could feel the jerkiness and loopholes in the fusion of the two. But even so, Lin Yi was able to successfully activate it easily. It was a miracle. After Lin Yi calmed down, Lin Yi thought about it again and simulated the situation of activating the Fire Dragon 8 trigrams palm. There was still a big difference between it and Taganlong's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. At least the color of the qi on the palm was different. His palm was red, but Taganlong's was a strange kind of colorful. Was it not fire qi? Lin Yi tried to recall how he felt when he fought Taganlong yesterday, but he didn't have much of an impression of it. The scene of the fight was still in his mind, but he couldn't remember what it felt like during the fight. Then was it a wood, water, metal, or earth martial technique? Thinking of this, Lin Yi decided to use the wood martial technique, the wood forest thousand changes martial technique mantra together with the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm activation method to activate the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. How powerful would it be? Once he thought of this, Lin Yi became a little impatient. He stood up and shouted in his heart again. Using the wood forest thousand changes martial technique mantra together with the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm activation method, he released the second form of the wood forest 8 trigrams palm. Bang! 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 4 loud sounds exploded in the air. Lin Yi's 2 palms became 4, releasing a powerful force in the air. Ooh! What a powerful force! Each palm actually had the power of the second form of the frenzy fist. That was equivalent to the power of the third form of an ordinary martial technique. Lin Yi looked at his hands in surprise and exclaimed. Under normal circumstances, the power of a single punch of the second form of the wood forest thousand changes was actually equivalent to the second form of an ordinary martial technique. However, it was different from an ordinary martial technique. An ordinary martial technique could only activate one punch or one palm at the same time. Even a person who was infinitely skilled in using martial techniques could only use 2 fists or palms. However, the wood forest thousand changes could double the power, turning 1 fist or palm into 2 fists or palms, and then turning 2 fists or palms into 4 fists or palms. However, at this moment, the wood forest thousand changes that Lin Yi used the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm method to activate not only retained the doubled power, but also allowed Lin Yi to activate the power of the second form of the frenzy fist, which was equivalent to the power of the third form of an ordinary martial technique. Lin Yi's forest thousand transformations, from what he'd seen before, was actually a pretty useless skill. Each style could increase the number of attacks, but it wasn't as powerful as the raging fire fist. But now, combining the 5 elements Bagwazang and Lin Yi's forest thousand transformations together allowed him to unleash an even more powerful skill. How could he not be happy? What a pleasant surprise! Besides being happy, Lin Yi was even more certain that he could successfully fuse the wood forest thousand changes with the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm because of that inexplicable omnipotent martial technique. Otherwise, one could be said to be a coincidence and an accident, but how could 2 be a coincidence and an accident? Of course, in the eyes of outsiders, Lin Yi was a genius. A gratified smile appeared at the corner of Lin Yi's mouth. It seemed that the fight with Taganlong was not in vain. If one were to say that the biggest gain from this trip to the Wulong Haut mountain range was probably the 2 new martial techniques created with the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. Each had a stronger attack power, which made the trip worthwhile for Lin. After continuously thinking, deducing, and activating the new martial techniques, Lin Yi was a little tired. Looking at the sleeping Sun Jingyi, Lin Yi also fell on the other bed and entered the space in the jade pendant to recover his strength. In a majestic hall, an old man dressed in a 8 trigrams robe was frowning as he felt the pulse of a pale young man lying on the bed with his eyes closed. This old man was the master of Old 6 and Old 12, Elder Xianchen. Beside him stood the ashamed and guilty Old 6 and Old 12. Although Taganlong's injury was not directly related to them, it had still happened under their watch. The 2 of them had indirectly obstructed Zhang Naipeo, so at this moment, they were trembling with fear in front of their master, not daring to breathe loudly. Very heavy, very troublesome. Elder Xianchen frowned and spat out 5 words. These 5 words made the hearts of Old 6 and Old 12 sink. Master, can it be cured? Old 6 asked hurriedly. I'm not sure. Perhaps only by refining the Great Huan pill will there be hope, but the refining of the Great Huan pill is very troublesome, and many of the materials are scarce. Even if we gather the materials, it will take a while. Elder Xianchen sighed, his face very ugly. After so many years, that big plan could finally be realized. The arrangements for the other inheritors were more or less done, everything was ready. They only needed to wait for the pagoda dragon to slowly mature and step into the heaven rank before they could start that plan. However, All these years of hope had been shattered?